Lean forward and be on this. Hi guys, I think we're live again. It's like take two. So
go completely back to the beginning.
back to the start. So welcome to Brew York Live. We're back in York for the first time in 3 months now, and we've got a live audience.
And well done for cheering a second time.
And apologies for the technical hitch. We've had to cut off the stream and start again. But hopefully you've all managed to rejoin.
Yeah. Apparently us big boys don't fit in vertical mode. We have to have the widescreen mode.
Not portrait. It's like the big brewer mode. So hopefully you guys can hear us and see us okay. We've got before we start anything, we've got lots of cool beers lined up for you. But first of all, if you want to take Kaya out of the fridge, so it's actually going to be the next beer. So if you've got in the fridge, it might be quite cold for the next beer, but take it out, let it warm up. Dark beers suit the slightly warmer serving temperature. And something we realised we've stopped doing in the last two events because we've been running around and trying to fit them to an hour is not actually introducing ourselves. So if you don't know, my name's Wayne. I'm MD of Brew York.
And my name's Lee. I'm used to introducing myself as the head brewer.
I thought you were going to say
I'm not now. I'm the production director now, but we are both the co-founders of Brew York.
So yeah, it feels a bit weird because we kind of see the same faces at all these events, and we have quite a regular audience, so we kind of forget to do it.
And we forget, for some of you, this will be your first time, so you won't necessarily know who we are. So I'm Lee, this is Wayne, although we do answer to both names because it is amazing how often we are both confused.
It's pretty much every beer festival that happens, and it's usually by our own team, so don't worry about it if you do it. So we've got a pretty cool lineup for tonight, and for everyone who's actually a Drinking Outside the Box subscriber, very sorry for the late change. So Tom Coco was due to be canned last Thursday, it got deferred to Friday, and then it actually still hasn't been canned this week, so it's over a week on. Few little hitches there, but we managed to swap out for a really cool beer. So anyone who didn't get that, hopefully will appreciate we did a little bit of an upgrade, and you got the Hoptimist in the pack instead, which is a pretty awesome double IPA. So without further ado, pour yourself a beer. We've got this way, Tony, to start with.
Right, so I'll give you mine as well, so you can pour that. So while Wayne is pouring that, I'll talk you through how this generally goes down. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing 4 beers in sequence. As we consume each of those beers, we'll be talking about the concept behind the beer, whether that be the recipe, the name, the branding, or anything else unique that there might be to throw in. So we'll be chatting through that. There will be an opportunity for you all to interject with your questions. For those in the live audience, you're just going to put your hand up and you're going to shout out, and you guys at home won't be able to hear that, but we'll repeat the question and we'll go over our response to that. But for you guys at home, what you need to be doing is below this video, there is a comment section. You can add in your questions, and we've got Nadia over to our left here who will be recording those. And ordinarily it would be the little hand of questions coming in, but we're a little bit more closely located now. So now you're going to get the mammoth hand of ants coming in with questions. As we always say, the more interactive we can make this session, the better it is for you, the better it is for us. So please get your questions in. I know the guys here are going to be chipping in with loads, so let's see if you guys online can outcompete them in terms of content. So the beers we're going to be doing this time round are as follows. So first up we have It's This Way, Tony. And if at any point in time you're not sure where we are and what we're consuming, that's what this little can graphic is about here. So it's supposed to reflect what we are consuming, but me and Wayne are really, really bad at remembering to change this.
Look, we've got a live audience to remind us.
So hopefully, our guys here will remind us that we've not done that, as our team always does. So we're going to be doing It's This Way, Tony, which is a 5% classic APA, 5.2. I was thinking 5.2 and then I said 5. So it's a 5.2% classic APA, framed around the hop Amarillo. More on that coming soon. Next up, we've got one of our favourite collabs that we did a while back that we're rebrewing. It's called Kaya, which is a Pandan coconut and coffee milk stout. Slightly unusual, great beer. And that one comes in at 5%?
5.2 again.
5.2? How can I keep getting this wrong?
We brought them both at the same time last time. It's what we do when we bring multiple beers out. It's always the same ABV.
I don't know how we do that. And the next 2 beers are the same ABV as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we're going to be doing what we refer to as the martial arts twins. We're going to be doing Gooseberry, which is a 7.5% gooseberry full sour. And then we're going to be finishing that off with a huge dessert of a mixed berry pastry sour that we call Jackie Flan. Whew, wow.
Yeah,
I've got some Rennies in my pocket ready for when we get to those couple of sours to finish on. So, final bit, as we go along, we will be handling a specialist subject at each time. So we've got a couple of interesting things coming up. The first topic we're going to handle is, what is the new normal? For those of us in the trade, we've noticed that now we've come out of the pandemic, people's habits are really different. And for those of us trying to run these businesses, it's very challenging. We can't predict what you guys are going to do. So I just wanted to have a little bit of a chat around, well, what is the new normal? Why are people behaving differently now? Why is it that Tuesday nights are now busy and Thursday nights are now dead? What's that all about? So we'll be chatting about those kind of things. And as always, we will give you the heads up on what's going to be in your box next time. What's going to be the 4 headline YouTube beers coming around. So, Ant, if you could...
do the honours. Do the
Thank
prompts.
you, sir.
So,
That's 3 times I've called you sir today.
I know, it's unheard of. It does.
So now, nicely done.
So just hopefully you've all got a drink anyway now. So we did say to pour it earlier. We've got our fancy Teku glasses again. So hopefully some of our 12-month subscribers have got their fancy Teku glasses as well at home. So cheers, guys.
Cheers.
So as Lee said, the first beer up, it's This Way Tony. Does anyone in the audience, can you guess why we called it that name?
It's got to do with Amarillo.
It may well have something to do with Amarillo, and it's nothing to do with getting our sales director back into the office. For anyone who's met him, his name's Tony, and he likes to wander around. So yeah, cheers, Tony. He's on holiday in Tenerife at the moment. So come back, Tony.
Is that where he's gone? Tenerife?
Yeah. I know. Everyone's got them.
I didn't know he was doing that.
No, none of us did.
Fair enough.
So yeah, it's a 5.2% American Pale Ale. So American Pale Ale is a classic hoppy but slightly bitter style. It's something that we've got a lot of time for. We love the more traditional or more traditional modern styles in that they're resinous, piney, and a little bit more less hazy and less juicy than some of the modern styles that people brew. So it's kind of beer that we love to drink. 5.2%, obviously got Amarillo hops in it, hence the name. It's This Way Tony, which is a play on...
The Tony Christie song. Show me the way to
I wanted you to sing it, not just say it.
I'm not singing it.
So yeah, Tony Christie song.
Nobody needs that. We want the viewer count to stay high. If I start singing, they're all leaving.
So the Amarillo is the prominent hop we use in that, but it's been backed up with a couple of other hops called Simcoe, the Centennial. So anyone who drinks our beer will know that we love to use Centennial in our dark beers. If we're trying to make a hoppy dark beer, it works really, really well in the dark malt backbone. But in this beer as well, it kind of pairs quite well with the Amarillo. It's not too intense. There's a lot of hop aroma on the nose, but it's actually just a really quite enjoyable beer. And anyone who's joining us in the audience tonight gets to try it on cask if they want to, because it's on cask in the tap room, which is the first special cask we've done in. Special guest cask we've done in probably 6 months. No, probably
longer. It'd be pre-pandemic. So yeah, 15 months maybe. Yeah.
We tried to, because of all the in every time we've been locked down, we've had to write off quite a lot of beer, and it's always been cask beer because it's got a shorter shelf life. It's more it's just less stable. You can't keep that beer very long. As soon as you've packaged that beer, you've got to drink it fresh. It's like, I guess, going to the supermarket and hoping your vegetables stay fresh. You know they won't, so you're going to have to do something with it. And this was the beer that we got exposed to the most during lockdown, so we tried to reduce the amount of cask when we came back out and play it cautious. And then as pubs have picked up again, people come back out drinking. What we found is people are drinking more and more keg beer and less cask, so it's made us, again, be very cautious before we started bringing a lot of specials out in cask. But eventually we're going to have to get back into what we love as well, which is cask beer. So This Way Tony, we brought out in cask, and it sold out in about a week or something. We had a general sale on it for a week, and it sold out. And we're like,
went on sale last week. We got told today it's sold out.
It's great. It's also bad because I've really enjoyed it on cask at the moment, and it's going to be gone straight away. So we're going to do quite a few more of our specials now in cask again, and start rolling out and getting a bit more confidence back in the cask market. But yeah, if you guys want to try it tonight before it's gone, it's a good.
I would say in a couple of ways this beer harks back to mine and Wayne's own personal beer journeys. So about 8 years ago, a couple of years ago, before we founded Brew York, Amarillo was a big thing. You get that in a lot of beers. And it has this really interesting kind of orangey, sometimes peachy kind of character going onto it. And we really like it. But then the big hitters of the Citra and the Mosaic then came along and everybody focused on those. And it was like Amarillo kind of got pushed to one side. And I think people have forgotten what a great hop this can be. So it's nice to do something with this hop every once in a while. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the punch of the Citra. But I think if you respect it for what it can bring, it can be a great hop.
Yeah, it's a cool hop, and it's something that we, when we brew styles of beer, if you guys are familiar, which hopefully you are because you all get our box, but on the back of the can we do the diagram, the spidergram, to try and give you an indication of what flavours and profiles it'll bring. And I just remember one of our friends who drinks our beer occasionally, so hopefully Dan's tuned in tonight. He was always like, when you guys bring out one of your beers that has the pint glass on the back, I always love it. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, mate. And when you look at the spidergram, it's shaped like a pint glass. And that's the profile he really likes of the beers we make. I was like, it's quite good that actually. You hadn't really realised that sometimes you'll get patterns like that which kind of represent.
Well, and neither would we until he mentioned that. So it is absolutely by fluke, not by design. We don't set out to make these interesting beers that reflect pint glass graphics on a spidergram.
Well, and might sometimes, and there's a lot of the graphics in the back of our cans, so sometimes you might get carried away and make it look like a pint if it's close.
But I think what that's reflecting is a certain balance in the beer. And again, harking back to our journeys when we first started out, it wasn't about hazy, juicy stuff. It was about beers that were slightly more balanced, where you would have a nice, real tangy bitterness to the beer, as well as having the fruity or floral or resiny hop character coming through. And for me, they make for more drinkable beers because you've got that little bit of bitterness.
You want to go back for more.
You want to go back in again. Yeah. Whereas these hazy ones, and this is only my personal perspective, I enjoy one, I maybe enjoy two, then they blend into each other, and I don't know, well, there's nothing really enticing me to go back. Whereas with this bitterness, I feel like I'm getting a little reward every time I have a sip.
It's like when you have salty peanuts or something at the peanuts at the bar, and then you've got that saltiness in your mouth, and you want a drink, and then all of a sudden you
exactly, exactly that, yeah.
So yeah, that's it's This Way Tony, and yeah, the artwork was really cool. We brought it out probably 2 years ago now originally, and we brought I think 3 or 4 beers out at the same time. It's This Way Tony, Juice Campbell versus the Army of Darkness, and Kai Juice. And the artwork on all 3 of them was just awesome. It was just we kind of went from our original core branding, which was more totem style illustrations, to these 3, and we were like, at the time it kind of influenced a lot of the mobile event bars and all the things we would, the boxes. I'm pointing where you guys can't see on camera, but our actual trade box that goes into a lot of the artwork, and that was influenced by these. It was just a really cool art at the time, and it's so good that we didn't change it. When we re-released it, we just wanted to use the same artwork still. So.
Right, I've been past an example.
Yeah, Juice Campbell.
So yeah, here you would see Juice Campbell.
It's probably
that's Kai Juice there.
Tony's not quite as impactful as those 2, so maybe it didn't make its way onto the front. But yeah, it was.
I don't think we were discussing packaging tonight, but there you go.
We're not going to have time for questions at this rate.
Right, so moving on to our first subject of the night. So we want to talk about what is the new normal. So, as I said at the start of this, for those of us in the trade, we're finding it really hard to understand what the new normal is. So we used to sell a certain amount of cask, a certain amount of keg, a certain amount of can. That got flipped on its head through the pandemic. And then where we've ended up back is nowhere near where we once were. So we're doing a hell of a lot less cask. We're still doing a lot more can, albeit obviously not what we were doing through the pandemic, because you guys can get back out to the pub again. Get that. So our business is different in that way, but we also operate bars. And the operation of our bars is now very different. So we have to staff to expect a certain demand at a certain period. And then we'll staff up so we don't have too many people in on a Tuesday, and then everybody comes through the doors on a Tuesday. Well, when did Tuesday nights become a thing? And then Thursday nights, we'll have a few more people on, but then we don't have anybody come into the bar. So we're very interested to know, what is it you guys think has changed in terms of drinkers' behaviour? Why is it that we are seeing these differences now?
Yeah, because one of the things that I noticed very early on is obviously if there's only 5 tables or 10 tables in a pub available and you try and book it and it's full, you're not going to then say, oh, well, I'm not going to go out drinking this week. You're going to, okay, well, maybe we can go tomorrow night instead of tonight. And all of a sudden, you spread your drinking habits. Instead of all going out and going heavy on a Friday and Saturday, a lot of people now go for a sessionable drink midweek, or sensible, maybe not sessionable, sensible drink midweek, and then you're coming out again on a weekend. And because of that, you're seeing people, instead of all going out on a Friday and Saturday, you've got a nice spread of people coming out throughout the week. I think that's kind of what I think's massively influenced it. And now that pubs are back open without restrictions, the amount of times I come in here for a drink myself on a weekend, and I see people walk in, they look around, there's no tables free, and there's no tables outside, and they won't stand and have a drink like people used to. And they'd stand like 10 deep at the bar and stuff, and queue for a drink, and then stand and enjoy the drink. Now they'll have a look around and they're like, oh, yeah, there's no free seats. I'm going to go and I'll come back later. And that's just like in British drinking culture. That wasn't a thing before, and it's not a bad thing, but it's different, and it's hard to get used to that.
Yeah, I think the pandemic has definitely brought some positive change. That may or may not be one of them, depending on your perspective. I love table service. I like going over to Belgium and stuff, and no, we will not serve you at the bar. You must sit down. I must bring your drink to you. Brilliant. Yeah, let's do more of that. Yeah, I mean, that's great. I love the idea of getting your drink brought to you at the table, and the fact that I can be halfway down and I can already have my next one on the way. Yeah, fabulous. Yeah.
But yeah, one of the cool things you get by interacting at especially a bar like ours where the team get to try loads of interesting beers, they can share that knowledge with you guys. And when it's table service, there is an element of that, but if you're rushing around to try and serve lots of people, you don't get quite the same intimate experience as you do when you go to the bar. And especially if you've got a stool at the bar and you start enjoying your drink and talking to the bar team, there's lots you can learn, there's lots of things you might want to then try. So it's been great having that restriction ease where the people can come and do that again. But I think there's also a level of caution where people won't necessarily be as comfortable to do that anymore. One, because they don't feel safe yet still, which is understandable. And two, because they've not done it for so long, they feel a bit rude doing that. And you know, it's not rude, it's more than welcome. You can do that. It's just going to take a bit of a mindset change, I think, till people feel comfortable doing that again.
Well, I mean, from our perspective, it's not something we've immediately rushed back to. So if you came in here on a Friday night towards the start of ISD, you and I would have been sat at the end of the bar, having a few beers, having a natter, watching what other people think about the beer.
Well, at the start, I would have been behind the bar.
Well, maybe like 2 years in. We transferred to the other side of the bar, and we were just drinking and observing.
And that was great. Andy joined. So our longest serving employees, Andy, he runs our events for us now, so you've probably all seen him either behind the bar here or out at events. And everyone watching at home, if you've seen us at any events this summer, you'll have almost definitely seen him. So he's going to be immortalised in a collab can that we've done with Anspach and Hob Day. And I'm not going to put too many spoilers out there, but we've seen the draft artwork and it's awesome. The beer's called.
You have to.
You have to now. Yeah. So the beer's called Indiana Stout.
And the last brew third.
So this is great because we've managed to. We managed to go brew a bit of beer with Anspach and Hob Day, who do amazing beers, and they're very traditional in their style and their approach. And then they came and brewed a beer up here with us called Blazing Sandals, which is a smoked porter. And that was us doing a more traditional beer with a little bit of a jokey dig at the sandal drinking community.
Don't say much more than that.
I'm not going to say any more than that. And then when we went back down and we brewed with those guys, we did an India Stout. So if anyone isn't familiar with that, it's a really heavily hopped stout. So it's a traditional-ish style, but it's done in with a modern twist, which was great because we wanted the guys to do something cool like that. And if you're familiar with Anspach's beers, they're very much it's the porter or the stout, so they were saying, well, we can't just call it the India Stout. It's not very impactful. And jokingly, they said they come up with all sorts of ideas, and one of them was the Indiana Stout, and they're like, but we don't want to get sued, and we're like, that's the beer, that's the name we should go with, that's amazing. And we're like, don't worry, you won't get sued, we know all the tips on that.
The artwork is incredible. I wish we could share that with you now, but
you'll see it when
it wouldn't work over a camera like this, and we're not allowed to anyway.
So as soon as that comes out,
if you've ever met Andy, we refer to him as Peter Griffin without the white shirt and green trousers.
He does. No one else does. Lee.
Well, Andy, you know I love you, but you are Peter Griffin. So it's basically Peter Griffin.
You're not spoiling the bit.
No, but it's a Peter Griffin, Indiana Jones love child.
So now not only do we have Lucas films going to see us, we've also got the Family Guy inadvertently. So yeah, it's a really cool beer, and look out for it. And Andy's going to love it as well. We're going to get a giant framed one above his desk. And when I say his desk, when he's out at events, it'll just follow him around.
So anyway, back on point.
So yeah, we digressed.
So yeah, back on point. We were starting to explore the idea of what the new normal is. So we've started to get a few comments coming in. So those online, if you've got any more comments as to why your personal habits might have changed, why you think other people's habits might have changed, yeah, how are you generally feeling comfort-wise about being in venues now? Do you only sit in venues that you've got table service at? Are you happy to be back directly at the bar again? So we've got the first few coming in. We'll start to go through them now.
I've got Nadia's writing again now that we're back in the turf.
I already had one comment.
So this is from Emma. I prefer midweek pub visit because then you can avoid the noisier weekend crowd. Well, so do I, Emma, but that was true pre-pandemic as well.
So many people are trying to find a quiet time to drink, hence the change. So yeah, find somewhere where there's not as many people out and have an enjoyable drink then. I always go on a Sunday because,
But again, you always have.
Always
Pre-pandemic,
have, yeah.
you've always done
But it's
Sundays.
been like one of those things where for a living, we make alcohol, so we drink. Not loads. We aren't that bad. But
Has to be said, more than the
but we
average
drink
man.
more than the average person. So I guess as long as I stick to beer and I go home at a sensible time, I know that I won't have a hangover the next day. I know. And yes, the sensible bit. And then so Sundays has always been my go-to drinking time because I know that it's quieter in York and it's a great. There's usually live music on, so it's a great day to go out. And most of the trade, so anyone who works in the bar tends to go out on a Sunday, so it's just a really nice day to go out drinking. And as long as you get home at a reasonable time, you can start your week off fresh. Yeah, I know, yeah.
So we've just had a comment off camera that we can make out it's research. Yeah, even better than that, we can bill it as research.
Taxable benefit.
Okay, so on the new normal theme, this is from Steve. I love canned beer because it is easy to get hold of and carries the taste. But I'm 100% a cask beer man and would walk from pub to pub to get a decent hand-pulled beer. Yeah, as would Wayne and I, Steve. It's just not been as easy of late, and there's certainly less diversity out there in terms of cask right now.
So when pre-pandemic, we used to have 10 different cask beers on in our venue, and most of them were our own. But we used to have the occasional guest beer on, and we would easily go through 10 beers, more than that, in a week, because people wanted to drink cask beer. We've dropped down to, I think we've got 6 on today, and that's the most we've had on in a long time. And we're still a little bit cautious about putting 6 on because I mentioned earlier cask beers got shorter shelf life. And we don't want the beer to go off. We don't want to waste that beer. And typically a firkin of beer, which is the standard measure most pubs use, 72 pints. So allow a little bit of wastage. But are you going to go through 70 pints within 4 days? Because that's really how long the beer is going to stay fresh. And for us, we're fortunate enough that, especially on a weekend, lots of you guys come in drinking cask beer, so we can go through it. But in our smaller venues, so we've got a pub in Pocklington, there's nowhere near enough custom during the week to justify having I think we've got 8 lines there, to having anywhere near 8 lines back on again. So we've got to be really cautious there, which is like such a shame because it's a very much a cask beer drinking town and they like the variety that we had, and it's really difficult to keep providing the variety when you don't want to keep pouring 20, 30 pints away every week when you have to put the fresh beer on. So it's a challenge with cask beer, but it's certainly not insurmountable, and a lot of pubs are getting better and better and putting fresher and different beers on. So.
Indeed, and we hope to up our cask game again soon. So this is an interesting one from Tom. Yeah.
That's a T, an O, and an M, yeah?
But it looks like
This
Tam.
is one from Tam, yeah.
Maybe the same one.
I've got Tam as well, yeah.
No, I think this is an interesting one, which I think opens up another avenue of debate, which is we have one pub that is only serving double vaccinated people, and they're doing a storming business. Feels much safer. So yeah, that was Tom.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So I think not all venues are affected equally. So I think our trade has been pretty strong. because I think we still had strong policies in place around people distancing and table service and that kind of stuff. I think for other venues where they've just gone, yeah, we're back to the way we were, I'm not sure I would be walking into those venues straight away.
I mean, I won't mention a pub that
sounds like... you mean Wetherspoons? Because I will mention it.
Okay. I was going to say it's like Reese Witherspoon's uncle or something. But and I've not been in one for quite a long time, so I can't imagine they're going to be very socially distant. So. I don't know, it might be I'm a complete lie. We were in Edinburgh Craft Beer Festival the other week, and that's where we went for breakfast.
Shit, we did, didn't we?
And it was rammed. It was rammed at like 10:30 in the morning. And
but it's like £5 and it's a really good breakfast, and I was hungover. So.
And 3 and 4 people at the bar drinking pints at sub 11 o'clock in the morning, and we weren't 2 of them. We were drinking cider at our table.
No, the last thing I wanted to see at that point in time was more beer.
And the festival hadn't started as well, so that's just us.
Like, would you guys ever go to the point of saying only people who've been double vaccinated or have had a vaccine can go to our venues, or are you very much about keeping it pro-choice and just being sensible?
So we've been asked, would we go to the extent of doing the rule where only double vaccinated? I think the short answer is no. I think these things need to be allowed to police themselves. I think as long as we can create an environment where people are comfortable and that we understand that we respect one view against the other. But the general gist is that we have procedures in place to keep you apart if you want to be apart. Then yeah, we've always been about comfortable drinking spaces, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic.
So we do lateral flow tests pretty much every other day. Myself, Lee, and we pretty much live together, so we kind of are a bubble in ourselves. But we, all the bar team wear masks until, and we're going to continue to wear masks until everyone's double jabbed, so that we've got the lower risk for our team because we got stung quite a few times during lockdown of the pingdemic, and it can have such a big impact in such a short period of time. So our venue in Leeds was only just launching, and we had to close it because of this, and then the kitchen had to close because of this, and it was just so frustrating how we. It's not quite like in New York where we've got 2 venues and we have a big team, but we can rotate around. They're working in groups, and if one team gets pinged, the other team could step in. This is it really hit us, and we couldn't get anyone across to cover it. So it's really difficult. So we've got to be as precautious as we can as a business. And our production team still fully masked throughout all their working shifts. And again, we're counting down the days for those guys until everyone's double jabbed, and we've got that level of a little bit more comfort there to allow them to restrict the rules a little bit.
So one for you. It's a tan.
I've got a backlog from tan.
So Simon here makes a good point, and I think this might have a bearing on people's behaviours now. Working from home, you can get out earlier. He prefers going out for early evening drinks, midweek hour. Main issue that it's hard to get decent cask at the moment, hence Monley keg is pouring right. He's mostly kegging it right now. He's mostly drinking keg beer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And again, for anyone who's joined us in the audience or has been to our tap room, you'll notice the beer hall's obviously got the much bigger variety because we've got 40 lines upstairs. We've almost got the full 40 lines back up and running again, which is great for us because what we didn't want to do is restrictions ease. We put 40 lines on and they're sat around for 4 weeks, and you don't want to drink old keg. Even though keg beer stays fresh longer, you don't want to be drinking the beer that's been sat around for ages. So we wanted to wait till the demand was picking up and start adding more and more lines. And in doing so, we've ultimately ended up with a massive Brew York selection up there because we put so many specials out recently. But we're starting to build up the guest beers again.
And we offer no apologies for that.
And our keg game's been pretty strong for quite a few weeks, and it's getting better and better. So like I say, our cask game's getting better now that people are drinking it more. But we've got such a great selection on keg, and it's easily and less risky for us. We've always obviously focused on that, but hopefully for the customers out there who are desperate for cask again, that bit's going to step up again now as well.
Yeah, it's not going to be an immediate change, but we're talking about things. We're going to be putting a lot more out into casks shortly.
So I've got one from Tam. He's got a lot of questions.
He's prolific. We've another one here, but
so
I think we best do yours first.
So I certainly don't want to be at a bar anymore. We're still in a pandemic. Tables are. Have we done that one? Tables are a must for now, and I love ordering through an app where possible. So yeah, 100%. It's a great, it's a nice bit of a comfort blanket when you're out and about, and you can find your area in the pub that you feel comfortable in with the people you know, and you can get table service. It's just a really nice plus to have.
Okay, and Tom, once again, we'll be interested to see how things change as the weather gets colder and people can't sit outside anymore.
100%. That's the question for us as the new normal. A lot of our customer base and the growth in our customer base over the last, when things reopened, have been venues who've gained amazing outdoor space. So now we're a bit cautious because those venues are going to lose that they're not going to lose the outdoor space. They're going to lose the number of customers willing to drink in that outdoor space, we think, but also we don't really know. A lot of people just put a coat on and just carry on sitting outside because they like that freedom they've got.
Yeah, well, we have a strong feeling that certain people are still going to want to be outside. So our challenge now is to try and adapt the outside space that we have to make it usable for longer. So that's what we're now looking at. We can't tell you much more about that right now, but that's the challenge we have.
Another one from Tam. So we're like old men.
Tom,
now.
we know your name's Tom. We're just doing it because off camera over
jokes.
here, Nadia is seething at us mispronouncing your name.
She just hates our sense of humour and how childish it is, which makes it funnier to us because we're childish. So, cheers, Tam. Anyway, so cans are definitely here to stay. I like the atmosphere of a pub, but having friends around to drink at my home is much easier and much nicer. Sorry, busier. Nicer and easier to crack out a board game. Yeah, good shout. Yeah. So you can do things that you can do more things in your house than you can in a pub. So it gives you a bit more freedom there. So definitely good.
And how many people have got pubs in their back garden?
I thought you were going to say a hot tub in the back garden.
No.
Hot tub and a bar. Oh my God!
Hey, snap!
You're like Wayne and Lee's garden combined.
Apparently, I'm not the only one with a bar and a hot tub in my back garden. Final one before we move on to the next beer, and this is from Matt. Pubs, bars seem to still be closing at 10 in London. Wow. So may as well go out midweek and do so in the hope it's quiet. I personally love the table service and a seat. Yeah, amen to that.
Yeah, the last time we were out in London for London Craft Beer Festival, but by the time it finished at 11 o'clock, we were then going to try and find a last beer somewhere, and it was a bit of a nightmare. We're in the middle of nowhere. And there was just a very interesting party walking past, and Louise and Dave from Fierce will tell you all about that. I'll have to ask them the private messages. It was a bit surreal, and that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, I'm moving on before we dig ourselves into a hole with that one.
So Kaya, next drink, and I've remembered to change it.
Well done. And that's the only time that'll get done.
I know.
Right.
Oh,
that'd be why I was like, that one's leaking. Right, well,
so we are still on camera, by the way, and we haven't forgot everyone at home.
you're pouring.
What's your name, sir?
I'm talking. So up here we have a beer that we first released, right? Maybe like 18 months to 2 years ago, you think?
Yeah, definitely. We launched it at what used to be called London Craft Beer, right?
CBR, yeah. We know what we're talking about.
Craft Beer Rising, it used to be called, and it was a festival down in London that precursed what's now Brew LDM. So yeah, we launched it. Well, so you can talk.
Yeah, so we launched it back then, but first of all, the concept of the beer. So it's a 5.2% Pandan coconut and coffee milk stout, and the whole concept is about this thing you have in Asia. So first of all, it's brewed with the initial brew is brewed with a brewery in Hong Kong called Gwei, who is owned by a guy called Ian, who's a friend of ours who is originally from York. And he's gone out to Hong Kong, he's founded a brewery out there, come back to York, saw we'd found this craft brewery in York, we got chatting, ultimately ended up with us brewing this beer together, and I've been out to Hong Kong to pay him and his wife Emily a visit out there. And the concept is all about this thing called Pandan toast. So if you were to go to Asia, more specifically Malaysia, you would encounter this thing called Pandan toast, or Kaya toast, sorry. And it's like a Pandan is this leaf that looks like a banana leaf, and it's known as the Asian vanilla. So they mash that up, and then they put some coconut, and then they put it into a jam. And then they put it on a slice of toast. With a big slice of butter, yes, that's very important.
It's really important. They were like,
Oh,
no,
butter.
you have. Ian was like, you have to do it in this way. So a big thick slice of bread, toasted, thick slab of butter spread on, and then this pandan, which is, it's kind of a weird looking thing.
This vanilla-y, coconutty, mushy jam thing, and you put this on the
making it, so we're
toast.
selling this.
No, it's great. It's absolutely great. It's so that's kaya toast. But then the reason we've added coffee to this is that what people tend to do with it is they dip the toast in the coffee, and then they consume that. So this is a nod to the entire experience of being in Malaysia, eating that toast, dipping it in your coffee.
If you're ever in Borough Market in London, there's a Malaysian cafe in Borough Market that does kaya toast.
So
It's incredible.
if anyone's can't hear that, if you're in Borough Market in London, there's a Malaysian cafe that do kaya toast. So make sure that you pop in, take a can with you, and then come back.
Which Nadia, our marketing manager, has just said off camera, and I'm wondering why this is the first time she's mentioned this. Not to me,
So the one thing I would say is, so when we brewed this, we got a load of pandan leaves, and I can't remember what we did with them, but they stank. It was such a rancid, horrible smell. I was like, oh, this is going to be a good beer.
We boiled them up to make a tea to then put it in.
It was horrible smell in the brew, and it was in the tap room, so it was it was one of those occasions where you're like, oh, what time are we open? Do we get rid of the smell before people come in? But yeah, thankfully the final product tastes amazing.
This time we didn't use the leaves directly. We got loads of, your 440 tins, like your tins of beans. Yeah, we got about 60 of them, of this stuff, the pandan, and we put that into it.
One of the things I'm really pleased about this year is, and again, the cask upsell. So it's on the bar in cask, and it's amazing in cask because it's a bit warmer. You're getting all the flavour profile coming through. It's so chocolatey. I can't believe how much chocolate flavours coming through, even though it's not got chocolate in it. I don't know why. I guess chocolate malt and the lactose is making me think of like milk chocolate.
Yeah, and we've used like brown malt and chocolate malt in there, which can give flavours reminiscent of chocolate. But yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Or maybe it's the vanilla or something, and the vanilla mixing with it. That's making me think of that. So it's a pretty cool beer. So it's a Gwei. You might have anyone who's drinks a lot of, especially supermarket beer. They've done a lot recently. So they're brewing a lot in the UK. So the guys at Vocation are brewing their beers for them. So they've got about 3 or 4 beers on general release. We did a collab with them more recently called Nougat Friend, which is it's definitely not a total milk stout. But yeah, it's we did that beer for Sainsbury's. Well, it was for Beer Hawk, and it's in Sainsbury's, which is a really cool 6.6% nougat milk stout, or nugget milk stout, if you ask me. But yeah, they've done quite a lot more recently in the UK. But one of the first couple of they did 2 brews in the UK. They did one with Magic Rock and then one with us. This was about 2 and a bit years ago. So it's quite nice to see that they're actually having some impact now in the UK and selling a lot of beer over here. And they've got a really cool core range. So if you get a chance to try it, it's definitely worth it.
Okay, and in terms of like the artwork, I don't know how familiar you all are with our approach to artwork. So if it's a beer that we do, it's generally kind of character based and it'll have a stupid name. You probably
always
got
a
that
stupid
bit.
name.
Well, almost always.
Almost
stupid
always,
name.
yeah. Now.
If it's a collab, what we tend to do is a collage, a mosaic, whatever you want to refer to it as, of things that reflect either the 2 brands or the beer or both. And I think this is one of the best examples of that.
And our intention early days were we didn't do that many collabs. We did we didn't actually do that many special releases, but we were bringing out, I don't know, 1 or 2 new releases a month, or probably less than that, and then maybe 1 collab every now and then. And to get our branding guys to develop a complete concept from scratch was quite an expensive cost to us as a business. And because it took the guys a long time to do that, and then we were brewing a one-off batch of it, which maybe went into a few hundred cans, and then it went onto someone's pump clips on the wall. And there was no way of us actually ever recouping that money back through selling the beer unless we brought 2 or 3 batches of that same beer out and keep recurring it. But if it's a special one-off beer, you don't know if you want to keep doing that beer. You want to gauge the audience opinion. So we thought that if we did an approach like this, it would make it a bit more affordable to do more specials and one-offs. When it came to lockdown and the volume of canned beer that you guys started buying, it kind of made that choice irrelevant because there's so many cans going out there. There's so many cans being bought that we could spread the cost of a brand new design over so many more units that it made it so much more affordable that we could actually kind of know that it's either one of our core beers, it's one of our specials, or it's something we brewed with another brewery. So that's the theory.
So what do we think of this beer then? To the audience here. Thumbs up, thumbs up.
Yeah.
They know they can't be heard audibly, so they're all doing that. For the benefit of you online, they're all doing that.
This is
Yes.
It's cool, isn't it? It's,
really
Very smooth, very easy drinking for a stout.
we're still live, aren't you?
it's paused.
It's paused.
Oh no, you're back. You're back.
So
we're
we're back
back,
live again.
we're back,
So I'm not sure when we cut out, but we were just talking about the audience opinion of Kaya, and we got a lot of thumbs up. And it was one of those really, really difficult ones for me personally, because during, if anyone managed to join us at Leeds International Beer Festival last week, it was such an awesome event, but we were so slammed at the bar, which is an amazing feeling. Like, it's great to be really busy at the bar, but there's a bit of pressure because we were bringing out some really cool beers, which we're going to talk more about later. And I felt that Kaya was going to get overshadowed because we had so many much stronger stouts, and people tend to come to us for the high ABV stouts. And to be fair, Kaya went on relatively late, and it didn't sell as quickly as the other beers. So when I came to try it finally on cask here a couple of nights ago, I was like, wow, I wish we'd had a chance to push this beer as much as the others, because for its strength, it's definitely kicking a well.
Do you know
it
what?
does well, doesn't it?
I forgot actually for a second we'd done this on cask, because this is nice.
Yeah, the cask.
This is out of a can, but this is cask is going to be, yeah. I think once this all concludes, I'm heading there for that.
So for most people joining us at home, well, for everyone, not just people joining us home, but lower strength beer, it's hard to get the body on a dark beer in low strength, especially in keg format. So if you're doing it keg or can, to get the body tasting right on a low strength beer is quite difficult. So when you're doing it on cask, it's a bit more forgiving. You get more air pulled through when it's especially if you're in the north and we pull it through a sparkler, and that makes you think that a fuller body or a creamier taste. So a beer like this, which has got a great body anyway, and then pulling it through a sparkler and serving it on cask slightly warm, where you're getting all the flavours, it just works really well. So there'll be a queue at the bar shortly. I know.
And we could go on about sparklers, but yeah, favourite subject, but best not go there.
Yeah.
So
we
should
do
we
have
move on to the next subject?
Yeah. So we've got
Really exciting one, this one, I think.
the pilot brews. So when
The experimental
I
series,
read the
I think we want to
prompt.
call it.
So for everyone joining us at home, everyone in the live audience who's a Drinking Outside the Box subscriber, we need your help. We've got some really cool interactive projects coming up over the next couple of boxes, where we basically want to send you guys something completely exclusive. It's not going to public sale, it's going straight to you guys. So the first one's up is next month. We're going to do we've brewed a New Zealand hopped Hopfenweiss.
Well done.
Hopfenweiss. So it's basically Motueka, Rakau, and Waimea hopped Hopfenweiss. Hopfenweiss is a variation of a wheat beer which is heavily hopped. So we've got the beer. It's going to be really cool, but we've got no idea what to call it. So we want to send you guys all a taster of it in advance of its public release. We want you to give us feedback on the beer itself. We want you to come up with ideas for names. So whoever names this beer will get a free case of the beer. You'll get your name on the can of the beer, and we'll design the artwork around your suggestion. So it's going to be quite a cool little option. So you can start the ideas flowing now, because you guys know a little bit more than.
Yeah, you've got New Zealand, you've got Hopfenweiss, you've got Rakau, Waimea, and I've forgotten the other one now.
Motueka.
Motueka. Yeah, we're doing well.
So it's going to be quite a cool one. So that's the first of the interactive boxes. That'll be next
Sorry,
month.
before you jump on. So as you receive the can, it will be very generically branded. It will only blanded. Well, that kind of works though. It will only contain what we legally have to put on there. So we'll have to tell you what the ingredients are. We'll have to tell you what the ABV are. All those kind of things.
No, Ant's done a nice pattern for it. So it's
oh,
not gonna be like
have you gone glossy?
Yeah.
Ah.
It's not snazzy, but
I thought we were going like brown label kind of. No.
it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's Colonel style.
Yeah.
Right. I thought we were going super basic because.
It's
So,
basic, but it's not branded.
so we've got a brand.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, whatever you receive it as is not going to be what it will become because you guys are going to decide that. You're going to name it,
and hopefully
you're
give us
going
a
to
bit of
brand
inspiration for the branding. So that's next month. So after that,
and this is a concept we think we can keep running with. And the month after, there's a certain beer in our core range. We're not going to disclose at this time what, because you'll have to tune back in next month for that, where we have changed the recipe a little bit. And we're going to give you both the original and the new one, and you decide which stays.
So when we send you the box, please don't inundate Nadia with complaints that you've got two of the same core beer. There's a reason for it, and it's and it's super exclusive again. So you guys will be getting it before the public. You'll be able to tell us give us feedback on what it is. We basically brewed a batch of it here on the smaller kit, so it's going to be an interesting feedback opportunity.
We'll have to remember to do this, but one of them on the bottom will have a generic number. The other one will have the letter B at the end. So,
Vote for B.
So that's how we'll distinguish the two.
Well, we'll put a coding thing on, and you guys will know from that. So who's got the money in for me on the Weep steak?
Are you going?
Yeah.
Really?
He did twice before we started filming. He cheated.
Yeah, that's called being organised.
That's being organised.
Yeah.
Taking the microphone off this.
Yeah. Right. I hope you've got lots of questions to get me through those. Right.
In fact, I've got a good one for you.
Oh,
There we go.
we have good questions coming in,
For you.
which is specifically for me. This one. Right?
Yeah.
Me and my mate are brewing Big Eagle from the magazine. Or wait until the beer has, whilst the beer is still 5 days, stop fermenting. Right, and that's from Rick Bayer. Excuse me. So Rick, whenever a beer is done to a more traditional style, which I would include Big Eagle, it's the traditional West Coast IPA, you tend to follow the brewing textbook. And the brewing textbook always says you do not put hops in the fermenter whilst the yeast is active. So you are always going to wait until you've got to your terminal gravity. There is no more alcohol going to be created. And then the beer is getting into its maturation phase. That's the point at which you're going to put the hops in. That's the traditional approach. That's what the textbooks say. When we're looking at the more modern styles, your East Coast hazy types, there's a different thing going on where you're going to sling your hops in well before the end of the fermentation period. And that's because the yeast, certain yeasts have the ability to interact with the hop compounds and create new novel flavours. But for something classic like Big Eagle, very much wait until it has plateaued. You're not seeing any further drop in the gravity. All the alcohol's there. At that point, when the beer is stable, that's when you put the dry hops in. If you don't do it that way, you're going to end up with a hazy West Coast. And that's not supposed to be a thing.
Although it is now. Everyone's
Yeah.
doing them.
Although I do see many examples out in the market now. Try on your West Coast. It's hazy and juicy. Like, what?
Is that mine or yours? Do you swap them, or do you just sit in this?
Oh.
I think you're being overly confident anyway, because you're definitely going to go to the toilet again before me.
All right, we're moving back, are we? Right. I don't know if I moved glasses, but I'm having this one because there's more in it.
Yeah, there's actually some in the can as well.
Right.
So we got one which is a shout out. So please shout out and say hello to Alison Hogan from your good friend Alan Humphreys. So Alan says, thank you so much for the gift of the Teku glass and the mug this week. Alan's currently recovering from surgery at the moment, and he can't drink along with us tonight, but he'll be back with us in live soon. So all the best and cheers to Alison. So and cheers
I think we should all go cheers to that one.
Alison,
Cheers.
Alan and Alison.
To Alison from Alan. Yeah, cheers.
And get well soon, Al.
Yeah, indeed. Do I have one? I have. Dan, can you tell us more about the elusive Beer O'Clock Show collab beer tonight?
Yeah.
Yes, we can, but you'll have to wait till later.
I wish I had the can. We've actually got the can. We canned it today.
Yeah, we should have
And
bought that with us somewhere.
I put one in my bag and I left it at home.
Yeah, I had one. I drank it.
So I got one from Steve. Hi, Wayne and Les. Wait. He doesn't put Les to say, he's put Lee. But we met last
Although we're now
Friday.
going to have to explore why that is a thing. But anyway, carry on.
That's a good one, actually. So we met last Friday at Leeds Beer Fest. I was too drunk to talk. Do you have any tips
probably made two
on
of
how
us.
to drink more and stay sober enough to talk? That's from Steve. Well, Lee probably can't comment on this because last Friday, if you bumped into me and Lee, I was actually the sober one for a change.
Yeah, I may have been somewhat hammered.
I got to Leeds on Thursday, so I had the Thursday night to get pissed, and then I had the second drinking day where you can't get pissed. Fact.
It doesn't matter how many times I get drunk by forgetting to eat. I still forget to eat.
You didn't forget to eat. You just forgot to eat. You forgot to eat early. So you walked past me with two giant Donna Summer things, and you were so happy. You were like a kid. And look what I've got! I was like, too late now, mate. Too late.
Damage was done by that point. Yeah,
You were
absolutely.
so pleased with yourself, though. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was very nice.
I should have took a photo and sent it to Polly and say, "See,
Shout out to Donna Summer. If
They do really good vegan kebabs or vegan food.
you might not
in
imagine
general.
me eating food that can be considered vegan, but it's truly excellent. You wouldn't necessarily know what you're eating is not vegan. But and this one's from Steve. He's getting the flavour of tonka and tobacco in Kaya. How did that happen?
Someone had a fag, dropped it in a Toncoco and gave you the wrong beer, I think.
No. I mean, tobacco is a flavour that can come across in certain dark beers. Tonka, no, I don't personally get that one in this one. It's a very, very distinctive flavour. I think if we'd put that one in here, you would definitely know about it.
It's rare for us to not use Tonka in a dark beer, but we haven't. Not in this one, anyway.
Ooh. And this one's from Bill. Feels like a plant from Nadia, this one. Have you started brewing the Fairy Tale Nightmare Dreams of Brew York yet?
Well, that question you probably could have waited until later, but I just posted it to you now.
Oh, okay. So for those of you that are not familiar with these, right from our very first year, we did a Christmas beer called Fairy Tale of Brew York.
And I bet no one got to, did anyone try it? Yeah. It was a homebrew thing that I
your
did, which was
eggnog
an eggnog
thing.
white milk, white stout. And it tasted great, but it was a nightmare because we put it. We were wet behind the ear then, and we put everything into the FD, including.
No, hang on.
I put it in. He had to
Who?
climb in and into those tiny FEs out there. He had to climb in and get it
Look
out.
at the size of me, and we've got like these 16 hectolitre, 1600 litre vessels out there, where the man wears about that big, and we put the was it cinnamon sticks and
Cinnamon sticks
and bourbon chips,
bourbon
something?
chunks.
Yeah, and we put them in this Hessian bag,
Coffee-
and then we
coffee.
dangled them into the beer. And he's like, flavour's not getting there quick enough. Opens up the bag, pours it all in, and then these are tiny vessels that then go down to a cone to a 1.5 inch pipe. Like, how are we getting them out of there then, Wayne?
1.5 inch.
Yeah, let's not go there. No comment indeed. So how are we getting them out? The answer was I had to climb inside.
I supervised from outside. It was easy.
And I forgot to turn the cooling off. So I've
whole
got
vessel being cooled.
-4 degree glycol running down my back as I'm there in this vessel like this,
Giving
trying to
birth
reach
to,
down
like,
below me
a
to
Christmas
pick up
baby.
these cinnamon sticks and things. So anyway, yeah. As you might imagine,
He's a bit reluctant to brew it again, but I think it'd be great.
yeah, we're not doing it that way though.
But one of the things we do try to do with Fairy Tale is always brew something new each year, and then listen to. We do tend to try and go out there and listen to feedback. And do we announce it yet, or do we?
No, we're not going to say exactly what it is, but
Maddie doesn't want us to.
No, all we're going to say is every year, since that first year, we have done a 4.9% milk stout flavoured with something that reminds you of Christmas.
So anyone in the live audience, you might be able to find out from us later what it is. But
Yeah. All it will take is a question. And as of last year, we then diversified our Christmas game to include an amplified version, which we call Nightmare of Brew York, which we do at double the ABV, so it comes in at 9.8%, and we do the previous year's Fairy Tale as the stronger beer. And then as of last year, we took that same beer and we put that into barrels. So this year is the first time we'll see the fruits of that. So we'll see last year's Nightmare as a barrel-aged Nightmare
this
this
is going to
year.
get complicated, isn't it? Because next year we're going to do last year's Fairy Tale as Nightmare, then last
Don't
year's
go down the
Nightmare
rabbit
as
hole. Don't go down the rabbit hole. And then, because it's us, we then also had to do a sour variant. So we do Dreams of Brew York to complete the trilogy, which is a 6.5% pastry sour, which again has to have some essence of Christmas to it.
And it's a quad now. So we've got a question from the audience.
Any of these Fairy Tale beers going to be in the Advent calendar pack?
Oh, that's a leading question. So the question is, any of the Fairy Tale beers, so it's basically the Christmas beers, going to be in the Advent pack. Well, stay tuned to the end, and we might tell you a little bit more.
There you
Like
go.
an ITV advert or whatever, and then we'll come back after
Is
the
it a little
advert
bit
and we'll tell
teaser,
you
yeah.
more.
We have no name on this one, but are we at the start of Stout season now?
Hell yeah. When did Stout season end? We've been bringing Stouts out pretty much all year
Do they
solidly.
not know?
when we asked the brewers to brew something, come up with a recipe, and they came with a 13% unadulterated stout in the middle of summer, we're like, yes, guys.
Yeah, that's got August release written all over it. Yeah.
But yeah, believe it or not, if it's possible, we will be upping our stout game. We'll be doing more stouts because it's getting to that season. But what you'll probably see is more accessible stouts, so more stouts on cask and maybe a little bit lower ABV, a few bits and pieces coming along.
I mean, for us, and our sales prove this, the winter beer stout season thing is a complete misnomer. There is a point in the year that people drink more of these things, but people don't stop drinking them. People drink these things all year round.
It's quite a nice full circle to get to. When we first came up with the concept of Brew York, there was a potential silent partner on board, and he lives in Australia, and he was saying to me, no one drinks stouts. I was like, you live in Australia, of course no one drinks stouts, but in England we drink stouts, and we drink a lot of them. So, you don't want a stout in your core range. I was like, we couldn't be further from the truth. So Tom Coco, well, we started with biking.
It's become the linchpin of what
and
we
it's
are.
basically, the
Absolutely.
water profile in York is amazing for stouts, so that's why we did a lot of them, but you guys thankfully bought enough stouts to justify keeping on brewing them, so it's something that works well for us, so why change something? If people like it, they buy it, so we'll keep brewing it, so. And someone will keep necking them while I'm there.
Oh, we got more? Excellent.
So, we've already answered that one. Way ahead of me.
Right, probably point to move on to the next beer then. In which case, I've just caught out Ant, because you weren't ready for that.
No, I stopped him.
Can we... Give me them. So, maybe we take a question or two from the audience then while the beers are getting handed out. Anybody got anything they want
Put
to
you on the
ask?
spot.
Nothing?
Come on, guys.
Come on.
Is there going to be any more of the barrel aged going into
Yeah.
these boxes anytime soon?
So yeah, it's funny. So later on, we're going to tell you a little bit about the upcoming beers. One of the beers that is coming out soon is the next State of Mind beer. So it's barrel aged
YG, don't say that.
Yeah,
It's a Babe Ruth inspired marshmallow stout.
yeah. So we've got HYG coming out in bourbon barrel age. It's getting canned next week or the week after, isn't it? It's getting canned.
It's supposed to be
relatively
next week, but we've had a delay back end of this week, so I suspect it'll slip into the week
soon.
after.
So it is 100% going to be in the drinking outside the box subscription, but it's probably not going to be in next month's pack, which is the October pack. It's probably going to be in the November pack by the time we balance all the drinks out. But what we'll do is everyone who's a drink outside the box subscriber will get a.
Sorry, someone said you're not talking loud enough.
It is still switched on, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll just clip it back where it used to be. It'll make it easier, won't it?
And what, did they ask you to move mine further away?
Is that the mic test now? Yeah. Yeah, it's still on. Mic test, it's working. So yeah, they're drinking outside the...
So if I could interject at that point, once you hear what the headliner is for next month's box, you'll understand why HYG, the barrel aged variant, is not in next month's box.
So what we're actually doing is everyone who's drinking outside the box subscriber will get an exclusive email and code, so you can pre-order extra cans of it in advance of it going on general release with a decent discount if you want to. You will get it still, but you'll still have exactly advanced access. And we're going to do that with every state of mind release we do from now on. Now that we're getting onto the bigger batches where we've got more volume of it, we don't have to restrict it to one per customer. But what we can do is offer you guys who are loyal to Brew York and are drinking outside the box a much better price than the general public get, and especially if you've got one of these fancy gold badges like Kay's got on off camera that no one else can see.
Oh yeah.
So pretty exciting, and we'll tell you more about it when we get to that point, if we still remember. So I need Ant to do his little magic.
Could we? Thank you, sir. All right, so who's talking through this one? Oh, it's you again.
About your special beer that you have hidden. It's like
Oh, too off camera. No, I don't have a beer hidden. It's definitely not off camera. No, basically, normally when we did the live events, the first few, we were drinking at a ridiculous pace, and it was a way of slowing me down drinking the drink on camera by switching to the other one. But in the last couple of months, we've been doing the accelerated 1 hour tasting, so I didn't need one, and I kind of got one, and then.
No, well, I don't think it's any secret that we have a couple of looseners before we go live.
Sometimes Alison will agree we go a bit too far and have too many looseners before we go.
Yeah, and we do now make a point of at least combining it with some food.
Yeah. So yeah, we did the.
So yeah, we do have always extra pints off camera.
Well, mine's off camera. Lisa's just always. Sat
Mine's
there,
just here. Yeah.
Is it one of your favourites?
So it's lupuli, and it's about 5% house APA. It's it's basically what I tend to drink. Well, when we don't have a special like this way Tony on, I didn't want to have a pint of this way Tony in cask off camera because I knew it'd probably sit around for an hour, and a warm cask beer is not really that enjoyable after an hour.
I mean, going back to what we were saying about it's this way Tony, in lupuli and in our core range, we've created the beer that was essentially what got us into beer. It's bitter, it's hoppy, it's balanced.
And it's gluten free, which got us into beer.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
So
it is gluten free, but it's
the
not what
beer
goes
we
into.
probably drink the most of in here. It's the beer I always have in my fridge at home.
So I'm pretty much the same. So we do stuff. We do cans of beer for the team, and my pretty much go-to can. I alternate between Lupuli or Big Eagle.
Likewise.
So it tends to be core beers. So each month you get to choose which core beer you want to take home. And funnily enough, since lockdown restrictions eased, my cans aren't getting drank as much at home because I tend to be here drinking them. But I'm going to go back after this, and I'm going to annoy Sal when I get home and try and get her to watch YouTube with me till 3 o'clock, watching music videos and drinking through the core beers. She probably won't agree with that because she's got to be up too early tomorrow. But
And I'm going to do what I normally do, which is get on drunk.
fall asleep.
No, I'll put on a retro wrestling video, and then my wife will get really annoyed because it'll.
You keep trying to do the moves on her.
No. No, that would annoy her. No, you know when you like watch the DVD and it gets to the end and it goes back to the menu, and then it just repetitively plays a tune.
He's the only person
Yeah.
I know who still buys Blu-rays and DVDs and watches them. Everyone else is digital, but yeah.
Where am I supposed to get 30 years of SummerSlam from? That's not on.
So we've gone a little bit off track, haven't we? So we started drinking Goose Lee. So back in the room.
Our director has informed us we need to get back on script.
So hi, Salo and Paul, if you're watching it. You're
like
definitely
to
not getting wrestling moves tonight.
Yeah, I'd like to say I promise not to watch one of those videos when I get in, but yeah, well, we know it's going to happen.
So anyway, on to Goose Lee. So speaking of fighting, we've got kung fu fighting. So Goose Lee is
nice
a semi-professional, mate. So anyone who drinks our beer, which is hopefully you guys, will realise that we have a beer in our core range called Goose Willis. Goose Willis is a 5.5% gooseberry full sour. So Goose Lee is the amped up version, so we've boosted the alcohol a little bit, we've made it a little bit stronger, but the thing for me about this beer is it just doesn't taste any stronger whatsoever. It's dangerous. It tastes exactly like Goose Willis, and it's 3% stronger, not 2%, like I said. So yeah.
No, it's 2%. 5.3 to.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was 4.5. Yeah, it's only 2%.
Yeah.
So 5.5 to 7.5%. So yeah, it's basically elevated Goose Willis. So it keeps confusing me at the moment. So every time I'm doing any sort of sales analysis or stuff in the office, I keep assuming that Goose Lee is Goose Willis. I'm like, wow, that's not sold very or sold more or whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's the wrong beer. 7.5%. It's the wrong beer.
It's well, I think we kind of specialise in dangerously drinkable beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the bit of lactose in the kettle with this, so like most of the beers we do at the moment, there's a little bit of lactose in, so unfortunately not vegan friendly. But that gives you a little bit of residual sweetness. So sour beer with lactose tends to have that sour, sharp taste, but with a residual sweetness that makes you actually enjoy and go back for more. The original beer was a very, very loosely inspired by Trolltunga, which is a Lervig Buxton collab. So it's one of our favourite sour beers that was on the market at the time. And we basically sat in the Brewdog bar and doing the collab fest, like pre-drinking, tasting inspirations. Like we love what this beer brings, but we want to make it more of a gooseberry full sour. So like the yogurts, the gooseberry fulls, where you're getting the creaminess as well. So we added lactose to the ingredients. We brewed a batch of it, and we absolutely loved it. And the guys from Brewdog came up with the Brewdog Leeds. Brewdog Leeds came up with the idea that we'd call it the it was York. It 100% was York. Yeah. So the guys from York came up with the idea, and let's call it Goose Willis. And we're like, yeah, that's definitely not going to get sued. We'll go with that. And we really like the beer. It did pretty well in Collab Fest. I'm not sure if we certainly didn't finish top, but we were scoring high in it, and it was pretty much our go-to beer in the brewery. So we'd finished brewing, and it's obviously pretty hot and intense. You've got to climb into the kettle at one point and empty all the hops out. You get out, it's like going to a sauna, so it's really intense. You're boiling hot, and you get out and you drink a bit of Goose Willis, and it's so refreshing and quenching. It was like, that's the type of beer we want available all year round. So after a few months once it's sold out, we're like, let's bring it back, and we brought it back. It was really popular. Like, let's make it part of our core range. If we want a sour beer all the time, this is the type of sour beer we want. So when it got to the stage of trying to brew a special for London a few months back, we're like, well, let's take Goose Willis and let's amp it up and let's make the 7.5% version. So vanilla in the FV, so you get a bit of vanilla sweetness as well as the gooseberry sourness. And we use a gooseberry concentrate. It's like a black colour, isn't it? It's a kind of a intense, sickly.
Well, I wouldn't go black. I say it looks kind of brown. It's weird. It doesn't look like a thing you'd necessarily want to have in your beer, but it works well.
And if you ever see it and you're like, oh well, it doesn't look too intense, let me try that. And yeah,
well, I kind of like doing that though.
It's
you know when someone says, "Don't touch that, it's hot." Don't smell that, it's disgusting. Don't try that, it's really sour. You're like, yeah, I need to have some of this.
Yeah. And it's so tart. It tastes a little bit. You like face puckers up. It's such a like sour tart.
It's the sourest thing you've ever consumed in your life. So I like it.
Yeah, so go back for more. But yeah, the balance with the lactose in there and the vanilla makes it really easy drinking. So it's not really that sour for a sour beer, which I think is why it kind of hides its strength really well. So, not that that's necessarily a good thing, but
we don't try to do full-on Belgian-esque sours. We do. I mean, it belittles it a bit to call it entry level, but yeah, I think accessible would probably be a better way of describing it.
Comments you just said that they did a tasting with their work colleagues and introduced Goose Willis for people who didn't like sours, and everyone liked it. And
Nice.
Said it's a great sour converter.
yeah.
So we've just been told off camera by Nadia that they did a tasting at work with Goose Willis with their colleagues, various people who said that they wouldn't like sours, and they described it as a great converter. So people who didn't expect to like this liked it. So yeah, I don't think we can get higher praise than that, can we?
I do think we have quite a lot of sours in our repertoire now that are like that basically hopefully convert people who say I don't like sour beer. And that's for me it's the pastry sour aspect in particular, where you've got that bit of vanilla, you've got that bit of lactose, you've got something to balance out this sourness, where initially you're like, oh, that's a bit, oh god, yeah, that's moreish. And there's a few. Katy Berry is one for me where it really makes you think, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like it because it's going to be tart and sour.
It's the balance of initial impression against finish. So with your more classic sour, it's zing, and then it keeps on going. With this type of thing, where you've introduced something that gives it a softness, a balance, it's zing, and then it's smooth. There we go.
Absolutely did that perfect.
Yeah, off camera we just had a comment about Kurt Russell doing that perfectly. So, well, anyone lucky enough to, we still have some actually in Newbrigger to go to the Leeds bar at the weekend. We had it on, and it sold out so quickly at Leeds Beer Festival. We had 2 kegs on it, just literally went pretty much straight away. And we saved 4 kegs, 2 for Leeds International Beer Festival and 2 for the bar in Leeds at the same time. So if there's ever an incentive to go down to Leeds, we've got it on still there.
Without a doubt, it is our most highly regarded sour of the year. It's probably on the cusp of being our most highly regarded beer of the year.
Yeah, it's
Reflux.
it was.
Worth the reflux.
Worth the reflux, says a man who clearly has the same acid and digestion issues that I do.
It's the same. So I love our sour beers, but I know for a fact that if I drink too many, and it's not just our sour beers, but any sour beers in general, I will wake up the next day and I'll have a nightmare indigestion or heartburn.
I wondered where you were going with that.
But yeah,
It's known to have other impacts.
Come on, Lee.
Hey, you let out.
So take your microphone off.
Right. Have
yeah.
you covered the fact that this is part of a 2-beer series?
No.
Right.
Battle of the Sours.
Yeah.
So this is the first, and hopefully you realise already that the next beer coming up is going to be the second beer for the Battle of the Sours. So hopefully you're enjoying this one. We'll keep drinking this while we're talking about a few more questions, and then we'll go on to the most expensive beer ever to make. Somebody
You have said that we call them the martial arts twins. You've done that bit, yeah?
Just the spoiled,
Both of
expensive,
them
really rich.
inspired by kind of retro martial arts heroes. Yeah, we've got all that. I don't know what you discussed while I was in the loo. So you've done that bit? No? Yes?
No, we didn't talk about your
No, you haven't done that bit.
who's your favourite out of Jackie Flan and Goose Lee? Not the beer, the inspiration.
Ooh, Jackie.
No, Bruce. Always Bruce. Always Bruce. Always Bruce, because Jackie came on and did something in that genre. Bruce created that genre. So always Bruce. Yeah, absolutely.
So one of our friends, a guy called Kimmy, who owns Bone Machine Brewery, he was like, you should have done it. And we're like, what? He was like, Bruce Lee and Bruce Wayne. We're like, yeah, we know we should have done that, but we can't on that. So obviously Lee and Wayne, Bruce Lee, Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, we do occasionally get called the two Bruces.
So
Bruce Lee, Bruce Lane.
But yeah, not many people would have got that reference, but
we did do a subtle nod to it at one point. We did a beer called Bruce Juice once.
yeah, probably couldn't do that nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
Just
was
have different connotations.
it was a nod to the Bruce Lee and Bruce Wayne, nothing else.
And it was Australian hops. That was part of the Bruce thing as well. But anyway,
We digress again.
moving on. So at this point, we always like to let you know what's going to be coming up in your box next time. Well, we don't tell you everything, but we always tell you what the YouTube for has. So what you will be drinking next time in sequence is as follows. You will be having an as yet to be named New Zealand hopped Hopfenweiss.
Which you guys will be naming.
Yeah, exactly. Not named yet because you will be the guys naming it. You will be branding it. So that's the experimental series part 1.
And then you'll have our collab with Andy Elusive and the guys from Opinions Beer O'Clock Show, which is Red Dancing. So 7.2% red IPA.
Can't wait for you to see the artwork on that. let's just say, for the first time ever, we actually appear on the artwork. Yeah.
It's not. It's
You'll
not,
have to wait and see.
It's not the first time ever. If you had Les's best or Wayne Smith's.
No, first 5-way collab we did, weren't we?
Oh yeah. No, but we did we did an ESB, an extra special bitter, and in a very small batch on our pilot kit. We got one of our old brewers to brew it, and it was only served in the tap rooms. And there was a beer. I was drinking a Thornbridge Best Bitter, and they called it Les's Best, and it's an old joke that he's Les, I'm Wayne, and I'll tell you more about that later on. But we got them to recreate the pump clip and call it Les's Best, and there's an image of Lee on there.
Well, that's come up twice now, so I feel like we now need to go into that story. So the reason I am occasionally called Les is there used to be another brewery in York called York Brewery, and it had 2 co-founders. One was a guy called Tony Thompson, and he wrote a book about his story, how he went through the founding of that brewery, the 25 years that brewery existed, and then there was a small section on which beers and other breweries
His favourite beer.
that he really liked. And he said he really liked Brew York, from Brew York that was made by Wayne and Les.
And this is like in our first couple of months of being open. It's like classic.
So ever since I got referred to Les in this book, I've always,
and it's obviously very funny, so it's never dropped.
And all the owner, head brewer over at Roosters, he loves it. Every time I see him, he goes, "Right, Les."
So if you don't know, Ol and Tom at Roosters are twins, and if you know the guys, you can easily distinguish between them. But it's funnier to pretend you can't.
They call me Les. So I call Ol Tom.
So we but yeah, and it's one of those things where it's not funny at all, but it's kind
It's to us.
we have our inside joke.
Anyway, we were partway through revealing the beers for next.
So yeah, we had Les's Best, which was the ESB, and then the spin-off version was Wayne Smith's Best Bitter, because there's no other Smiths in Tadcaster who would object to that. So we put those up, and then anyway, Red Dance.
Yeah, so to recap on where we were, because we went off on a serious tangent there. So next time you get the experimental series, Hop from Vice first. You then get Red Dancing, which is the 7.2%. Red IPA, Brew Between Ourselves, Elusive, and the Beer O'Clock Show podcast. And you then get something that we're super excited about.
So the next beer we're going to go on to shortly is called Jackie Flan. You might have realised that.
Which is amazing. But then we've taken it and we've done a little bit of a twist.
Turned it up to 11.
We've put a bit of maple in it. And if you like Omnipollo, you're going to like where we've gone with this beer. It is epic, quite frankly. I'm sorry. I'm putting it out there. It's amazing.
So hopefully, with the directional microphones, no one at home can hear the chavs running riot on the side of the beer.
Well, I think they're almost
they're running past the other side of the river.
And how do you top a beer that you would willingly put in the class of Omnipollo? What do you do with that one? Where do you conclude with that?
Well, if you're going to put an Omnipollo style beer, you're going to have to up it one, and we're going to have to go with maybe salted caramel Tom Cocoa 12%.
Oh
yeah. If you've been down to Leeds International or our bar in Leeds, you might have a sneaky preview of this. It's a super cool beer. We basically took our birthday beer lessons of how we brew strong beer on our new kit, and we took Tom Cocoa and we took it to 12%, and then instead of just doing a Tom Cocoa variant, we decided to put some bit of salted caramel in there. So it's a really, really cool beer. We're really pleased with it. It's
so smooth. It is so smooth. It's dangerous.
And it's not like we've said that very often, but yeah. So they're going to be the 4 tasting beers next month. We've got some really, really cool other beers in the pack. It was hard to choose between which 4 we'd go with, so we won't tell you all the beers that are going to go in there, but there are some really cool ones, so we'll maybe leave that.
So that's the pack next time. As to where we do this next time, up in the air, we've not discussed or agreed that yet.
We might have a guest actually.
We might have a guest.
We might be brewing Collab again. So we might be back here with a guest. We don't know yet.
Who is the guest or caveat?
I wouldn't want to tell you because it's not confirmed.
They might be here brewing with us, but we might say let's go on camera.
Well, what we can tell you is Collab again is a a 12-way brewery collab organised by Elusive, who are based out of Reading. And they do home and away for each of the 12 breweries. Is that right? Or is it six
You
breweries
brew
home
it,
and away?
yeah. No, so
No, it's 12 breweries home and away. And so we know who we're brewing with. We know what we intend to brew with them, but we don't believe that Elusive have yet announced any of this. So it would not be right for us to announce any of that before they have the opportunity to do so.
Like a band announcing themselves before the festivals.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Someone's just described that as it would be like a band announcing themselves before the festival. Yeah, that doesn't happen. Yeah.
You don't do
Or maybe it does happen, and you don't go to said festival ever again. Yeah. Okay.
questions.
watch this space.
Questions coming in. You screening them first? Oh, that was for me, was it, right?
Tell Lee you can have my WWE Network login from Craig. If he doesn't. And someone's wrote, if he doesn't, I'll have it, which is I haven't. Isn't it on Channel 5 now anyway, on Channel 5 On Demand or something, you can watch it? Not that I
Yeah,
know.
but Lee doesn't even like to watch
On
Line
Demand.
of Duty on iPlayer.
It does.
I bought the DVD of it, you know, the one that's free to everybody on DVD.
So anyone at home
I'm
probably
getting
can't hear this
criticised
now.
because I bought the box set of Line of Duty
Instead
rather
of
than just
watching it
watching
on
iPlayer. Okay, I screwed up at that point. I didn't realise.
You know when someone's so stubborn that they won't listen to common sense.
I've just admitted I was wrong with that.
Is it?
That one I got wrong. But most of the others, I just like owning things. You know, like I'm kind of like the modern vinyl collector. Sometimes you just like to have the physical things. It's not about just having access to the digital content.
He's a hoarder.
Yeah.
So people want to know more about the 12-month gold badge perks.
See it?
What's it look like?
Yeah, shove it
Look the back, so be careful.
Oh no! You're going to stab yourself all night.
Off and then it dropped down.
So this is so anyone who's a drinking outside the box subscriber.
Somewhere. Yeah.
So anyone who's a drinking outside the box subscriber. This is the one of the
Looking
perks
good,
for being with us for 12 months. So I don't know. Can't see.
No, Nadia said it was good.
The gold badge that you get for being with us 12 months is not only a really cool fashion accessory, it'll also get you exclusive access to perks and merch and discounts.
Yeah.
So at the moment the discount is 10% off in any of our bars. Is that right? 15% off. Sorry, 15% off in any of our bars.
Brilliant.
So if you've got your gold badge, wear it, go to our bars, you get 15% off.
We haven't had the email yet, so we don't know that.
This is exclusive information, and we ain't giving you your cash back for tonight. It's done.
Yeah,
So,
15% on these ones, so you've given me.
So yeah, one of the perks is discount at the bars at the moment. And what we'll do is we'll make it clear. So if you go onto our website, you go onto our subscriber page, you'll see whatever the live perk is. We'll rotate, we'll vary it. It might be discount on the web store. It might be free entry to events. It might be free drinks if you come and see us at events. There's all sorts of ideas we've got for it. We're just going to roll out and make sure you guys know what's going on. We'll do. It was relatively last minute this month because it always creeps up on us. We're like, oh my god, it's 12 months, and we're like, so yeah. But yeah,
Because we had no warning. Not like we had the
it's not like we had
previous
12
11
months to know.
so-
But yeah, it had crept up on us.
I had a very busy summer.
Yeah, it has been a very
We were just
busy summer.
obviously out drinking at festivals for the last 3 months, so we haven't had a chance to coordinate properly.
So let's launch into a few questions before we get on to the final beer, Jackie Flan. So, speaking of which, from Sally and Richard, what defines a pastry sour exactly? Is it just when it basically tastes like a dessert?
So when you put pastry in it,
Yeah. So yeah, in basic terms, Sally and Richard, yeah, absolutely. You're trying to recreate the characteristics of some form of dessert in a beer. To do that, there does tend to be certain commonalities. So you're almost always going to have vanilla in there. You're almost always going to be using the milk sugar vanilla, lactose. We've done vanilla. Sometimes you're going to use a thing called maltodextrin, which is what you make candy floss from. That gives it like this extra sweetness, extra body, and they almost always have fruit in. So yeah, fruit, vanilla, and different types of sugar that give sweetness and body to the beer are generally the things that are going to create the pastry sour.
It's got one from Gareth. It looks like lots of great sours are coming out now. I know you had a vision of sour project at the old site. Is this vision coming to fruition? No, not at the moment. The sours are coming from our production site, our big site. So there's two types of sour. We mentioned that we do the what did we call them? The accessible sours. So these are the accessible sours. So they're not like full-on Belgian style, really intense sours. These are kettle sour, which means we introduce a bacteria to sour it, and then we kill that bacteria, and we then sterilise the beer and sell it with the level of sourness we're comfortable with. The project we're talking about is introducing wild yeast into the picture equation, which will basically make really intense sour beers, and we're not really at a position yet where we can do that. We've got some really cool collabs lined up to launch this project, and we can't tell you too much about that without...
No, we do have a couple of things of our own underwear, but it's almost not worth... I can give you the details now, but these are things that are going to take like 2 to 3 years to deliver. So you're going to forget about them by the time we told you about them.
You told me 10 months.
Yeah, well, I maybe lied.
So yeah, it's going to be a longer term project. We'll have some interesting stuff in 18 months.
Depends on the bacteria we're playing with. So we are playing around with Pediococcus, Lactobacillus, Brettanomyces. So we've got a Bretted Saison coming up. We don't know when we're quite going to release that yet. We have high hopes for that one. We have another hazy pale construct that we're doing a little bit of Brett and Pedo and lacto over the top of. And then we've got a collab like Wayne saying there where we know what we're doing, we just can't tell you about it yet.
So there's all sorts of interesting stuff. But the sour, basically, the type of sours like we're drinking now, Goosely, and hopefully you'll agree, Jackie Flan shortly, they suit warm weather. So we wanted to bring out some really cool sours during what was still summer, and then that's why we dropped a lot of sours all at once. We were running out of warm weather time. If you bring a sour out in winter, it has to hold up to the winter weather. So hopefully you'll think Dreams of Brew York will do that. But we wanted to do this sours while the weather was still good. And yeah, we've got loads of cool ones we want to keep bringing out, but they'll be up at the new site. They won't be part of the new project yet.
Next one, any pumpkin beers? I know it's very American, but they are great when done well, Steve. So not us personally, but 2 weeks ago, I was up at S43 in Durham, brewing an Imperial pumpkin spiced milk stout. So around about this time last year, we brewed a beer with them called Pumpkin Dark Side, which I think they did an excellent job of. So we've then decided to do what we've kind of done with the Fairy Tale Nightmare thing, where you just double everything. Yeah. So they've doubled that up, and we're now doing, what do we call it? Oh yeah, now it's called Pumpkin Imperial. So I don't know exactly when that comes out. I would assume somewhere in October.
Is that available through them?
That will be available through them. There's a reasonable chance we might get a small amount of it ourselves. We might be able to get a bit through us. But yeah, if not through us, then certainly through them.
It'll be on in all our bars when it launches. We've got one from Bill. Can you brew Kirsch Russell during cherry season?
Bill, tell us what cherry season is, and then we'll have a look at it.
It's like June, July, August.
June, July, August.
Okay. Yeah, almost will be. Yeah. Yes. We've got one from Joanne. What's the most sour beer you've brewed?
Most sour, as in like puckeringly tart sour. What do you think that would be? It might be the one we're doing next, actually.
The next sour you've not tried yet.
The beer we're about to consume next, I think, might have the most lingering tart.
It's got tartness, yeah. There's
well, what if not that? Then what?
There's tartness and there's sour. Oh God.
Chris thinks it was Albus Crumble Door.
Oh, yeah,
That was
quite
quite
quite sour.
Albus Crumble Door, which was
kind of the
about
prequel to this.
22 different fruits in one
It
thing.
was amazing,
Yeah.
but very like.
Lots of, yeah.
Okay. I guess that one is a matter of personal choice. So yeah, we can't nail it down to any one thing. Any spooky brews for Halloween? And that's from Kerry. Is that your Kerry?
Probably not. Should be in the cake.
Very rarely.
Oh, it's
well,
Juice Force.
Exclusive. We do a very well-regarded beer called Juice Campbell versus the Army of Dankness, which is about horror stuff. So what better time of year to bring that back than for Halloween? So it will be packaged only a couple of days before Halloween, but it will be back for Halloween. Ant off camera's just said groovy, which if you are familiar with Bruce Campbell, Army of Darkness, Ant versus the Evil Dead, any of that, groovy is the correct response.
You're going to be doing an event here for that bit.
Ooh. Exclusive, you heard it here first, including me who had just heard it here first. We will be doing an event here for Halloween for Juice Campbell that features that beer. Is this a movie thing? We're going to have yes. Yeah, it's going to be a movie thing. We did a movie thing for this a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think it'll be the same.
And then I got distracted by other people in the bar and drank with them and stuff. Like, so this time I'm actually going to watch the film. Okay. Next from Steve. Any news on the book to put the can labels in? Steve, I kind of feel like I should hand that one over there.
We're busy, but yes, it's on its way.
We are busy, but yes, it is on its way,
Can I say
Steve.
it's really tricky to stick the labels in without getting air bubbles?
Yeah.
Because I've never done it once.
It's not good. You're not practiced enough yet. You need to buy some more cans, peel the labels off, and reapply them. You'll get it.
Right, we've had a comment off camera that it's quite difficult to put the labels into the book. So I'm going to make a professional recommendation here. Fairy liquid and a proper squeegee.
Oh, right. Very liquid on top of it or under
It's
Underneath,
got nothing to do with anything else. It's just for when you're doing your dishes and when you're cleaning the car. Perfect.
It may apply to this conversation, it may not. Right, Dan, how difficult was it to prepare the new brew house for the first time you brewed a sour?
Well, we kind of customised it. The new brew house. One of the things we did is in our current brew house, where we're sat now, it was designed as a traditional brew house.
You would forget.
Oh, we haven't got onto it yet, so we haven't forgotten anything.
Oh, have you already moved it on?
I moved it on.
Sorry.
So yeah, our current brew house was basically built for a normal brewing. And when you make sour beers in the style we do, kettle sours, you need to leave the sugary wort in the kettle overnight, and ideally you need to then seal the kettle so nothing else no oxygen can get into the beer. So when we designed the new brew house, we knew how many kettle sours we currently brew, and we designed it around that with modifications to make it easier to work. So it wasn't that difficult to use it for sours for the first time. It was just really nice to see that the modification we'd made worked well. And
the older kit, there would have been a certain amount of pre-work required. The kit that we have now was specifically designed to be able to do this. So we have two kettles, they're identical. Both of them have gigantic valves on top. They're about this wide. They look like they belong in the National Railway Museum. And that allows us to seal off the kettle entirely to allow an anaerobic fermentation to take place inside our kettle. And that's what you're looking for with this particular type of bacteria, lactobacillus. It's the thing that you have in yogurt, it's the thing that you have in your guts. And that's where we get this kind of like clean, crisp sourness from. And then when we boil it again afterwards, we quickly eradicate it and we return that sourness.
And one of the really cool things is the setup at the new brewery. So at the moment, we brew roughly, on average, once a day there, and we have the ability to brew potentially up to 6 times a day there, with modifications. But
not right now.
But
Twin 50
hect brew houses, so it's a 250 hectolitre mash tuns, 250 hectolitre kettles. So the fact that we're averaging 1 brew a day on there means that we've almost always got 1 kettle free. so we can actually sour in one of the kettles and leave it in there and not worry about that impacting normal production, which is what we had to do here. Every time we brewed a sour here, we lost production for 2 days. Whereas up there, we can brew the sour, we can carry on with normal production, we use the other kettle and carry on with what we're doing without impacting anything. And that's just been a really nice modification we did. So we've got another question from the audience.
Oh, this is brilliant. Sorry. No, I'll go first. Sorry.
Hold that thought.
I forget.
Hopefully this one's really brilliant as well.
I apologise. Sorry.
Well, since last time we came to Brewery, so you've moved on to the new site, it's looking a bit bare bones in there.
Yeah,
Equipment. Are you planning on building that back up again, or is it something that's going to just be at the other side and just like really small kit?
So the question for anyone joining us on camera is the brewery here at the in the city centre now is looking a bit bare bones because we've basically taken all the big equipment from the current site and moved it up to the production site. And are we going to do anything with the space we've now got? Are we going to put more stuff in there? So what the intention is actually we're actually licensed all around the front of the brewery vessels. We always have been, but we use it by the fact that that's where we used to start our brewery tours. So we start there, give people a drink, and then move on. What we've actually done is we've knocked down the wall. We just haven't moved the seating into there. So the plan is to move seating around to the front of the brewery, extend the actual drinking area in the tap room, and then the brewery itself. The guys love it now because we're not cramped in amongst all the kits. So we've got 5, 10, or 20 hectolitre vessels, 10 barrel vessels. So we can brew every day 1 week and then not the next. And then so we've got enough equipment to brew enough specials here without adding too much more equipment again. And we've got a lot of space to do other interesting things.
I mean, I would add to that, yeah.
It'll be like, add more vessels.
No. Yes and no. So we have to be sensible about this. So we're dipping our toe in the idea of doing mixed fermentation, sours, all these kind of things. And they are projects that don't deliver very quickly. So we're using the vessels that we have out there to generate some form of income by doing like beers that are exclusive to the bars, etc. here. Longer term, if our souring project washes its face, then we would like to further invest in equipment that suits that type of brewery here. So things like amphoras, like big porcelain vessels that you might age a golden sour that becomes like the basis of many other beers that you could do. Kind of like you'd have a kimchi where you'd have this base sour that you would then take on and become other things. And fooders, absolutely. Wooden framed vessels. So ultimately, I think it would be great to have, the ceramics out there, to have the wood out there. I think it works in many ways in that, geez, what a backdrop that would be to people who visited us as a venue. And it allows us to demonstrate that we aren't just the guys that can make pastry sours and stouts. We do have this other string to our bow.
Yeah. So we will definitely be doing something out there. But the key more recently was that if we're not using the space as we used to, let's try and get the customers back. When we first opened, that's exactly the size we were. We had the main brew house. We had 4 or 5?
No, in fact, that's bigger.
That's bigger.
When
We had 4 10.
There was only 4 of them when we first started.
And the space, and we were like, well, this building will suit us for a long time because we'll grow into it. And then before we knew it, we'd filled it with everything. And like when you use it as a full production brewery, every corner of the building's used. It was nice to get some stuff stripped back out and then start looking at it, how it's really used heavily now, which is obviously as a tap room and also, we brew in there still, but we used to do events all the time, and when you were doing an event, you'd be able to go and sit amongst all the kit, or the food vendors would be out down there, and it was just really nice to be in and amongst it, whereas once we filled it full of equipment, we couldn't let anyone in that area, and it lost its, for me, it lost its spark as a venue for events, whereas now I think we can do some really cool events again next year once everyone's a bit more comfortable with going out drinking again and being amongst other people.
But I get why you've asked the question. If you visited us during our peak here, and it was so much steel, and now we've really come down, but that is more than we started with, and that will yet evolve over time.
Was it all gone?
Yeah. Well,
if you go to our new site,
in time you will have the opportunity to visit us at our new site, and you'll know exactly where that steel went. and you'll see a shitload more still.
So you plan on doing brewery tours at the new site?
No, we're not going to do regular brewery tours, but we
We'll
may,
do it-
on occasion, do events, like birthday events, that kind of thing, where whilst you're here, why not come and have a look at what we've got around there?
Yeah, we'd love to do. We'd love to have done an event this year at the new site. There was just so much going on with event season kicking off in general, and then all the events we were doing were compressed into such a tight window that we were like, well, we don't have any time to plan and arrange an event in our own space. But our birthday next year, 6 years young, we'll do a big event.
We kind of feel like we've got
no pressure, Ned.
We've got 3 years worth of birthdays to do in one.
Yeah.
Because we missed out.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to do something
in
really
typical
cool.
Brew York style, we'll do it to 11.
Yeah. Do something really cool over there, and then part of it will always be doing tours while you're in the space. So yeah, that's going to happen.
So we do have another question here, which I'm not referring to yet, because we
Let's
haven't
tell people about this
actually
beer.
told you about the beer that we're
we've
drinking.
poured, and we've got this really cool, like, especially if you've got it in a techo, it looks
I mean,
awesome.
given this is the most expensive beer we've ever made, we should probably tell you a little bit about it. Do you
Well,
think?
we haven't told them it's the most expensive beer we've ever made. Until
All right.
so
Well,
So just before you get into that, I've been doing iBast in the live comments here for which is your favourite between Gooseberry and Jackie Flan, which I want to open out to the audience. So I'm going to let you talk about it.
Yeah, and then we'll add the votes in.
okay. All right. Well, let's do that straight up then. So Nadia online is already collating your opinions on, because we're calling this the Battle of the Sours, or the Martial Arts Twins face-off. Incidentally, if you take both cans, where's the other can?
I've got you a Pandan sour.
And we ordinarily put the character on one side of the label. For these, we differed it. So
It's probably off camera.
Oh,
so-
wait, bring it back
off camera,
Bring
right?
it back a little bit.
Let Anne do it. Where one is one side of the label, the other is the other side of the label. So they're facing off. They are preparing for the battle of the sours. So now you decide the winner. So you've already had one. We're about to talk about the second.
We've given one of them a little bit more advantage of the other, given how much we've thrown at one of them.
And we've almost told you nothing about this one so far, but give us a chance. So Nadia's already collating feedback. You've already thrown in your opinions. Let us tell you a little bit about this one, and then you can decide which is your favourite of the two. And we will decide who the winner is of the Battle of the Sours. So this particular beer, I've given the game away a little bit. This is the most expensive beer we've ever made. In brackets, I put next to that,
Until next month.
until next month. When you will have a variant of this beer that's even more expensive. So there is £8,500 worth of blackberries, blueberries and cherries in this beer.
How much? 18.
£8,500 worth of blackberries, blueberries and cherries.
Plus,
that has gone
plus the
into
£4,000 worth
just
of
the
other
fruit.
ingredients that went into it.
Just the fruit into
Yeah.
this beer, £8,500.
And it's absolutely insane. Like for us, when we were at this brewery originally in the city centre, to have even had the cash flow available to buy that type of ingredients to be able to put it in a beer and then wait till that beer could sell to recoup it, we'd have never been able to do that. And it's part of the fact that during lockdown, everyone supported us so well, helped us grow as a business, bought our beer when we brewed it, and then we then naturally grew into our new brewery. And we've got to a position where we've gone from almost like, I don't know, 75% plus of our customers base being pubs where they pay us in 30 days once they've sold the beer, to our customers paying us upfront buying beer, that we finally were in a position where we had a reasonably healthy cash flow to be able to grow into the brewery we're in now and be able to buy enough ingredients to
But all the
brew a beer
same,
like this.
you
But
pretty much had a heart attack when you saw it.
Damn
I do, wasn't
I'm
it?
right, I did. I was just like, because basically I price up and cost our beers based on what we put in it. That's the way we work. When we're pricing a beer, it's about the time, effort, and the ingredients we put into a beer. When we first got into this industry, some breweries were pricing based on the strength of the beer. So if it was a 3% beer, 12% beer, it cost this. If it was 7% beer, it cost this. And it's just arse about face. That does not make sense as a business to be able to brew these two beers side by side. The same, they're a sour, they're both 7.5%. One costs probably more than twice as much as the other to produce. So it doesn't mean that the beer is twice as good as the other, but if you're willing to try it and you like the beer and you're willing to pay what the ingredients we put into it, then it'll justify us maybe brewing it again. If you're not, and people don't buy it, then we won't brew a beer like that again. But we kind of let people vote with their wallets and decide. If
you are going to vote yourself, so which is the best of the two today. But I want to highlight this as a real advantage that you guys have as being part of a subscribership.
Yeah.
So this beer, if you were to go into our bar and any bar and buy it, that's £10 a pint.
Wow.
That is £10 a pint. And you are getting that as one of 9 beers as part of your subscribership. So we don't hold the good stuff back. You're getting all the good stuff.
Yeah.
You're getting cracking value, to my mind. I'm sure he'd like to put the price up, but we won't let him.
Yeah, no, it's not about that. I'd just like you to make the beers cheaper.
Well,
Get
yeah.
an expensive ingredients.
The tangerine
Well-
of Gwei hat.
It was more the yeah.
Now, in my defence, I would like to say Brexit. So, no,
You can't throw that in every argument.
I
no.
know where you're coming from in
The-
terms of getting ingredients.
Well, no,
yeah.
well, twofold. Fruit pricing has gone up massively because of trying to get it into the country and trying to find people to pick it. So fruit, yeah, the pricing spiked ridiculously. And mea culpa, Wayne, only time I'm ever saying this, I maybe should have looked at the pricing more before I committed to it. I committed to the pricing of this based on, well, we bought blackberry before, we bought cherry before, I didn't quite appreciate that all the prices had gone whoop.
There it is.
Has the prices changed since you did Perth Russell?
Weirdly, cherries are the one thing where the price has been fairly stable.
And yeah, exactly. Kirsch Russell.
Yeah.
So, no, it's one of those things. It's if you we could fake it. We could brew this beer with fake flavourings, but that's not what we were trying to do. We're trying to brew a mixed berry pastry sour with all the fruit in there, and yeah, it's expensive, and hopefully you guys like it, but we will look at it next year and decide what seasonal fruits are maybe better priced, and then try and bring the cost down to make it more accessible for the wider audience. So we've got a question from the audience.
It was just, I meant to ask it earlier, I tried to describe it, but can you explain what makes a beer like Goose Imperial? Where does that Imperial come from?
Interesting. So the question we've been asked is, what makes a beer imperial?
Is it to do with Star Wars?
It does not have anything to do with Star Wars. So there are two streams to this. So it used to be to call something imperial meant it was a stronger version of the original. And then this thing called the BCJP came along, the Brewer Certification Judging Program, at which point they then set out this style has to be within these parameters of strength, within these parameters of bitterness, and within these parameters of colour. So when that then came about, it went from being not just more strength to being within particular parameters. So let me see if I can do this. So an American IPA should be maybe like 6 to 8%. And then a double IPA, or we would know as an Imperial IPA, should be like something like 8 to 10%. And then a triple IPA should be 10 to 12%. And when these were conceived, the things like the quad IPAs didn't even exist. But presumably that means above 12%.
They have other parameters as well. So to be able to get your beer judged in a competition that uses these guidelines, you not only have to have your beer hit that target strength, you have to have it hit the colour and bitterness. So there's IBUs for bitterness and what's the IU? EBC, yeah, for colour. So you have to make sure you're hitting all these targets, and then you can be judged in that competition. For us, it's not about the competition; it's about trying to make sure we manage consumer expectation. So we really push the boat out with. Well, we don't push the boat out really, but we tick the box. But these beers are 7.5%. So that's low end Imperial. So, but we've always done that. So Tom Coco and then Imperial Tom Coco for us. We didn't want to go too strong with that beer because there's also something in the UK called duty and the high duty threshold. So in the UK, if you go above 7.5%, you pay high strength beer duty on that beer. So if you're going to sell a beer at 8%, you will probably pay, I don't know, off the top of my head, it's about on a can of beer, for example, of this strength, you probably go from paying, I don't know, 60 pence per can in duty to paying 90 pence a can. But as a consumer, you don't want to have to pay that extra 30 pence for that extra 0.5%. So if you can keep it at 7.5%, it makes such a big difference. And the extra 0.5% in alcohol won't compensate the extra strength you're paying. So if we're going to do something that's borderline, we try and keep it 7.5%, so that you don't have to pay the extra boost because in tax that we'd have to pay and we'd have to pass on. So we'll always try and do that with it. If we're going to go Imperial, unless we're going to go 8.5 and above, we'll try and keep them sub 7.5%.
It's changed a lot over the years. When the original idea of the double or the triple came around, what that simply meant was you have a beer and you use that amount of malt to create that amount of alcohol. For your beer to be the double, you use double the amount of malt, and then you get, it didn't quite work for you, got double the amount of alcohol because the efficiencies don't work out that way. But that's the way it was. You doubled the malt, you got a certain amount more alcohol. But then eventually they did define the parameters. But
and
for us as a brewery, we do not brew to style. We are not confined by whatever these parameters are. We brew a beer and then we work out which of those most closely fits to what we are trying to do.
And then every now and then we'll enter into a competition. But the competition thing's like the last bit on our mind. It's like making the best beer we can. And if you lived in America, you'd be very fortunate because you pay tax on alcohol based on the volume you sell. It's irrelevant of the strength. So that's why if you're fortunate enough to go to America and try some craft beer, most craft beer is 7% plus, and they don't even actually advertise it. You'll sit in a bar and
the American scene's insane. You go over there and none of the beers say what strength they are. None of the bottles or the cans say what strength they are. You have a couple of beers with a guy next to the bar, and you're drinking these 7-8% beers together, and he goes and gets in his pickup and he drives off.
Yeah.
Like, what the?
And then so if you're going to make something an Imperial and you want to double it, well, okay, we'll make an 8% beer. You're not worried about, okay, that extra 0.5% won't really add much to the flavour, but it's going to add a lot to the bill. They're like, well, it doesn't matter, it's the same volume of beer, 440 mils, 500 mils, and that's what tax I'm paying, so that's what tax I'm paying.
But this is part of the reciprocal, beautiful arrangement we have with the US, where all of their beer is generally quite strong, very well hopped, which means they have little to no understanding of sessionable beer.
That genuinely is the big push in America at the moment.
Therefore, they come over here, they love what they do, they almost have no idea about how to brew it. And don't ever, ever try and drink an American-created cask beer.
Guys, can we get back on track? Sorry. Coming soon.
So before we get time barred,
we're being whipped back into line. So
Oh, it's definitely. Oh, yeah.
so we've talked briefly about Jackie Flan. I think we pretty much wrapped
all good,
up that
Daddy.
bit.
It's all good.
But what we haven't talked about yet is the last topic before we're going to keep filming and talking. But the last topic you guys probably want to hear about is what's coming soon.
And then we'll do a few questions at the end, and then we'll wrap up. So, Wayne, of all the things coming out, what's the thing you're most looking forward to?
Well, that would be salted caramel on cocoa, of course. That's what it says. No, genuinely is.
We're still going to do that.
So we got the sneak peek at these International Beer Festival. We put it on. We put a 30 litre. We don't normally put something Imperial into anything bigger than a 10 litre, maybe a 20 litre at a push. We put it into a 30 litre keg. And I think it kicked in about an hour and a half at least.
Wow.
It was so quick.
You didn't tell me that.
It was just literally people like, let me have it. So yeah, it went so quickly. And it made an absolutely immense salted caramel white Russian.
Oh my god,
It was so cool. So at Beer Festival, we normally do the frozen soft
I probably
serve
didn't
white
need it
Russian.
though.
So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Who would know?
Yeah, 12% salted caramel version of Tom Coco. So that's coming very soon.
And the thing I'm most looking forward to next month is the addition of maple into this bad boy. Jackie Flan Maple Edition. I think, just putting it out there, I think it's going to give Kirsch Russell a run for its money in terms of the best sour we've ever made.
So what was it inspired by?
A Swedish brewery that may now reside in the church.
So if
You've already named them.
well,
Omnipolo, everybody knows it. But Omnipolo does a series of beers called Bianca.
I thought you were going to shout Ricky because we were going to call it Ricky. Ricky! And then we're like, no one will get the reference.
Omnipolo does, well, they've always done these out there beers where it's really extremes of fruit, extremes of other kinds of flavour. And if they were to introduce the beer that we're introducing next month, they'd have like syrups and bacon bits sat on top of it. We're not doing that. We're just going to give you the beer.
So yeah, one of the things was when we first got Bianca on in the tap room, it was pretty much all the brewers and the team drank for ages. It was just nuts how much the guys loved it, and I wasn't sure it'd work. I was like, I can't get that mixed berries and maple, but if you taste mixed berries and maple, it really does work. It's a weird flavour combo that just works really well. So yeah, we did Jackie Flan, and we're like, you know what, a maple version of this would be pretty fucking cool.
And turns out it is.
So that's coming out next month.
Next one, and we were asked earlier to elaborate a little bit on this one. One of the ones you'll be tasting as part of our next YouTube session is a beer called Red Dancing. It's been brewed in collaboration with Andy from Elusive and Stephen Martin from the Beer O'Clock Show / Opinions. And what we tried to do with this is we are not chasing popular opinion. We are brewing a beer that reflects mine and Wayne's initial journey into craft beer, and it reflects Andy and Stephen Martin's initial journey into craft beer, when for us what it was this initial American imports into the UK market.
It was really cool at the time.
Yeah.
We're all, but by the way, for benchmark, we're all pretty much 5 and a bit years old. So we all got into it professionally 5 and a bit years ago, and that time point, what was what still makes a massive impact on me was these type of beers. So like your Sierra Nevada, the Sierra Nevada Torpedo.
That one in
the danger
particular,
beer.
I would say Sierra Nevada Torpedo in particular would be the inspiration for this kind of beer.
And we were quite a few months into developing the brewery when when we officially launched. It'd been a while before that, and there was lots of things that had influenced us. But obviously the same journey was going on for these guys as well. And it was just nice to have like a similar viewpoint and to not and then to not worry. And to not worry too much about what, like say, popular opinion, what people thought about that, what modern styles are. We just wanted to brew something that we liked, and it's nice to say that it's just such a cool style. And
so sorry to say, we brewed this one for us, not you.
But
we kind of hope you may like it though.
And well, I'm sure you will. If you like East Coast, you're probably not going to be as keen on it. If you're a big West Coast fan, you'll love it. It's a red IPA brewed in West Coast style. It's pretty cool.
Okay, and then also coming up next month, we have the start our experimental series that we've announced, which is a New Zealand Hopfenweiss, which, to remind you, you are going to name and brand.
So honestly, if they're all shit, then
it's going to be called New Zealand Hopfenweiss.
Right, just to reiterate what our marketing manager Nadia said, if we end up with a shit name and a brand, it's your fault because you didn't contribute. So you all need to get your naming suggestions in. You all need to get your branding suggestions in. It will only ever be as good as you contribute.
I feel like we need to add every subscriber to our Slack group.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing that. We have an internal work communication group where we talk about the naming and branding of beers. Nadia has suggested that we add all of you to that. That is not happening.
So,
the only way you are getting your suggestions in is either at the bottom of this video or email them into info@brewyork.co.uk.
Do a little feedback
in the
form in the subscriber channel somehow. So.
I stand corrected. On your subscriber channel, you are going to get something specific to you guys. Will that come in email format? Newsletter, email.
So it'll be part of the newsletter. Right. So we've also got, as we've already mentioned, barrel aged Hey You Got.
Oh, you love doing that, don't you?
I was about to say it then, but I didn't say the last word, so it's barrel aged HYG.
And then we've got the return of a favourite from last year, which is Matthew McConaughey's.
Whoa, yes. Good beer, good beer.
It's brewed with Conan yeast for this year.
To give the beer its full story, we do a beer called Dame Judy Quench. That beer was drank on the Graham Norton show, on which by Judy, and Matthew McConaughey was
also drank it.
One of the accompanying guests, and he drank it and was like, that dude needs his own beer. So we went Matthew McConaughey's.
So watch your space. Whenever he's on the Graham Norton show, we'll hopefully try and get him to drink it.
And then he'll pass it on to the next celebrity, and then we'll do something based on that. Yeah. But no, we've tweaked it this time. The grain bill's a little bit different. The hops are quite a bit different. And most importantly, we've changed the yeast we've used this time. So the quintessential hazy beer yeast is something called Conan, which is what the alchemists in the US use. And they are the granddaddies of the hazy beer movement. And we have their yeast. So we've used their yeast to create that particular beer. And we are really, really happy with the results.
The brewers are super excited. I don't know if there's any beer left, but they keep tasting it. It's going to be like literally our beer.
Yeah, good point.
So that's pretty cool. And then hopefully, if you've stayed on and waited, we bring some Christmas beers out. We might not mention them.
Yeah, but we are not telling you anything about. Oh, we got technology issues. No, we're good.
No, battery's running.
So we are not telling you anything about the Christmas beers at this point. We told you the styles that they broadly align to.
And there's four of them, including the barrel aged version.
And they are going to land around about mid-October. And as we did last year, we're going to do a unique, separate YouTube tasting event for those beers.
So basically, everyone who's a Drinking Outside the Box subscriber, you'll get an opportunity to get a big discount on the beers as a 4-pack, or on the 12 beers, the 12-pack. But we can't. We learned from what happened last year. We can't put them in your tasting pack, launch the beers in October, and then do a tasting in December. Months later, when you're like, guys, we've already had these beers. Why are we doing this now? So we're going to split it up. But we'll make sure that you guys get an awesome deal on the beers themselves, and including the 12-pack if that's what.
So we'll be doing the tasting video. Nadia, maybe like late October, early November.
We're going to put our Christmas jumpers on literally in a couple of weeks' time, and we're going to film it like well in advance.
Like snow coming.
Ant's literally crunching polystyrene above our heads during the film.
And I'm going to justify my investment in a dedicated Slipknot Christmas jumper by getting to wear it again.
That price per wear's got to come down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that would make it about £30 per wear. So, and then you'll see it again next year, Annie. Anyway.
But we've got something really cool, which we're not going to tell you too much about. But yeah, the 12 beers of Christmas, those 4 beers plus 8 really Christmassy beers. So we're pretty excited about it, and hopefully you guys will be too. So that's the end of the formal content.
We're almost at the end.
Stay tuned because we've got so many more questions.
Last few questions, and whatever you guys in the audience may have. So.
Didn't count as well.
Oh yeah.
Who won?
Well, we're not taking an internal count yet, so
Right.
my little
Well,
tally here.
you work that out while we do some questions. So Nadia's going to do a survey in the room and work out what the local opinion is on the 2 sours. And while she does that, me and Wayne are going to answer a few
I'll laugh at this
questions.
one. Bill said, will the advent calendar be 24 times 4 40ml beers? If so, I'll be off work in December.
Jeez, I admire the aspiration, Bill.
Jackie. It was Jackie Flan.
Right.
So Bill, the answer is
Not 3.
no, it's 12 by 4 40ml.
12 days of Christmas, 12 beers. We're going proper traditional on this one. So next one, and I love this one. From Peter. What discount do I get if I get the badge/logo tattooed on my chest? I think if we're doing 15%.
Every time you see Lee, he will kiss you on the lips.
I'm getting one.
Well, there's an incentive to not do it, Peter. But I think that.
Is that Peter and Kerry, Peter? I'm guessing.
Is it pink hair, Peter? Well, I think if we're doing 15% for a badge, if you do tattoo, I'll give you 20. 20%. And if I get shot in the foot for that. I'll end up paying the difference.
Lee's still waiting to get his full back tattoo of all the Brew York. He paid for the design on that wall.
No, I've had a
it.
sleeve designed that is like that wall through there. So I'm waiting to have that done.
That was like 4 years ago.
Well, not quite, but anyway. So that was that one. Derek, would you say that although the pandemic had a big impact on breweries, in the end, by being able to can so much and sell it, it made it easier to start up the new site and grow the business?
Yeah, we were very much 100% a fortunate brewery. We were in a relatively strong position when the pandemic kicked in. We had just overcommitted ourselves, but admittedly we took a big risk.
Any
We
final
bought a
ones?
canning line which was way bigger than we needed for this brewery, but we always hoped that we would grow and then move to a new site. So we bought a canning line that was way bigger than we needed, and we were just like, well, it's a little bit more than we need to spend now, but it will help us out in the future. And then just, as weirdly as you can say, lockdown kicked in, and we were lucky. We weren't lucky, but because of what happened, but it was just right time, right place. So we had a canning line capable of switching all our production from cask and keg into can. So the time was good for what we did, and we were always planning on moving our production up to what we hoped would be the site we're at now. We didn't know that at the time, and we just figured that with everything else that was going on, we were just lucky to still have a business. And then as it transpired and as things changed and the government schemes kicked in that we could take advantage of, as a smallish business with limited people to make a decision, we were just reactive, and we saw what was going on. We changed what we were doing, and we tried as hard as we could to make sure we kept up with what was needed. And it helped us get to a position where we could move into the new brewery or still find a site, still grow and still do what we did. But it was basically everyone at home, it was you guys who helped us do what we did, because you carried on supporting us and buying our beer. And our team at the business excuse me, worked so hard. So we all worked hard. It was obviously a difficult time. We all just rolled our sleeves up and just knuckled down and got on with it, what we did. And we were just really lucky that the team backed us, helped us, and got us through it. And then, we reacted, and it was
Yeah, I would say that one man's problem is another man's opportunity. And the very first couple of weeks of that pandemic, it's totally on the record. We had so many sleepless nights. We thought this is all going down the pan. And then you guys backed us. You bought our beer. You took up our local delivery services. And at that point, we suddenly realised, you know what? Maybe this isn't the time to back ourselves into a corner. Maybe this is the time that we carry on with the plans that we always had. And we try and grow now, even with all these challenges out there. So that's what we did.
It's still so rewarding now. Literally every single beer festival, if we go back through the season, every single beer festival we've been to throughout this, at least one person, but usually more than one person, has came up and saw either me or Lee out and just said thank you. We're like, what do you mean thank you? We're like, no, we're a subscriber. We're like, no, thank you. We're like, no, you helped us get through this. And we're like, don't, and it's so like surreal for us, because like, no, don't be that. You guys have supported us. You've helped our business get through this, and you helped us, because we were literally obviously trying to keep our business afloat, working, and this was such a great thing for us to do live YouTube. It's amazing.
They say to us, you got us through that week. You got us through that pandemic. Right? Do you know what? It was the same for us.
Yeah.
We didn't have our Friday nights down the pub anymore.
It is very
So our Friday
100%.
night was, we got to do this every once in a while for you guys. So we still got our night out because we were doing this.
Yeah, same. Like throughout lockdown, like you guys gave us date night.
Exactly.
Beer tasting, a few like,
Brilliant.
snacks,
Brilliant.
you know.
So we've just heard in the room that date night was gathering around a screen with some snacks and a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Well, that's 100%.
Romantic.
That's exactly. And it's kind of weird for me. So hopefully Sal's still watching now. But I'm not drunk, promise. But what Friday night was off. We'd literally it created a routine, not a routine, but something that broke from the norm. And I still like that now. So even if we're at the pub on a Friday night, I like to then get home at a reasonable time so that we can still do the things that we did during lockdown that were, like, you were forced into that position. But actually, it's really enjoyable. It's kind of one of those, you don't get to pick the music in a pub. You get to pick the music at home. You get to pick the things you watch at home. You get to pick things you drink more than you do here. And it's just nice to kind of like take what was shit during lockdown that got you through it, and then make sure that you can still do it even though we've got less restrictions now. So it's a
Well,
nice
maybe that
position.
brings us back round to the new norm question.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe
What is
that's
new
why
norm?
people
Well,
aren't
yeah,
going out
exactly.
so much. They've become so accustomed to what they enjoy at home now, through their home bars or their shared experiences together at home, whatever that might be.
Before we wrap up, can I just declare the winner of the Battle of the
Goose Lee.
We are just about to declare the winner of Battle of the Sours, and the winner is...
So Goose Lee has 12 votes total with you guys and online, and Jackie has 18.
Oh, Jackie wins.
Goose Lee, 12 votes, Jackie, 18. Right decision. There we go.
You guys swayed it back, yeah.
It was like 15 and 5.
Goose Lee was the winner.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Goose Lee was the
Goose Lee
winner
was the
in
local
person.
winner.
Yeah.
So now you have to spend lots of money on berries.
Yeah. We don't. We just need to find lots of volunteers to pick the berries.
Yeah, well, exactly.
But anyway, thank you guys online who's joined us tonight. We're probably going to be in York next time. We don't know yet. We haven't decided exactly where and what, but I'm guessing it's going to be York again. So if you want to join us in person, let us know.
Well,
Drop
yeah,
info at Brew.
We'll definitely be doing that next time, but I would throw it out there that we like to do this in different places. So if you have suggestions about where
If you have a hot tub and
we
a bar
could
in your
do
backyard,
No, Joe, someone on the live said tonight, do a competition to bring it.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a bad idea. So for anyone that didn't get the audio on that, it's been suggested that we run a competition to bring this to your home or to your back garden. Given we're going into winter, it best be your home, not your back garden. But, or garage, yeah, whichever. Outbuilding. I'll take heating. Where you don't have heating, I will take whiskey. Yeah, anyway. It's been brilliant, guys, once again. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback. So any comments you may have, send them to info@brewyork.uk and .co.uk, and we will see you next time. Thank you. Yeah.
Can you say Nadia at Brew York? Cheers, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers. All right. Should we have some beers now?